Please hit like, share, and subscribe. Now enjoy the Practical Guitarist podcast. Hey, David.
Hello, Jim.
Oh, I think we have somebody new here today.
Do you want to introduce him or should I?
My name is Dylan.
Okay. Yeah, these are always intentionally awkward, so don't feel bad.
You know what's funny, Dylan, is you've got that casino guitars hat on your head, and I don't live very far from there. I keep saying I'm going to make a Saturday trip, drive down there, see the place. I live in Southern Virginia, so
you have to. It's probably, so we'll get into this later, but after traveling around the country for a couple of years, I probably have 2 to 3 guitar stores that I really, really like, and that one's probably my favorite. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be a stone's throw from CME. Which is interesting. I don't make it down there as much as I should, but when I do go down there, I'm always pleasantly amused with some of the things that they have and the amount of money I can pretend I could spend on something.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get to Nashville this summer, and I know to stay away from the NAMM weekend, but. One of the things that I want to do is take just enough money to buy something stupid, but not enough to, because I could see myself coming back with a made-to-measure one of these things.
Yeah, right.
The last time I went to Nashville, I accidentally bought a Gibson.
Yeah,
I know.
I think I remember seeing that video. But what a Gibson you bought, right?
Yeah, that's so
good. Yeah.
All
right,
go ahead, Jim.
So let's talk about what's new. David, why don't you start us off? What's new?
What do I got that's new? I don't have new stuff, but I do have something that's coming that I know is like something that's happening. So
something like that.
The body that belongs to this guitar is actually in a case behind me. This is the neck I pulled off of it. And I think we might have talked about this on the last episode. I ordered a Wenge neck. And it's 9.5 to 16 inch compound, or 9.5 to 14. Is it 14? I think it's 14 compound radius. And I got Spurzell tuners coming for it. This is my white Strat from back when I was in high school, too many years ago. And it has, I'm going to put, not EMGs, I'm putting Fishmans in it. So, and you're the guy to talk to about Fishmans because you cut them in half. Actually, we shared that video the other day too because I was talking about Fishmans with a buddy of mine. I was like, oh, I gotta show him this because I don't think he realizes like what's going on inside this pickup. I actually sort of because I heard interviews with the guy that helped design those pickups, so I sort of knew what to expect. But it was like it was still enlightening to see that it was like a solid wafer. It's kind of cool. But anyway. Yeah, so that's my big what's new for the week is I'm actually putting together a new guitar, and in a little bit of other news, the PRS I had a stern talking to with my my local dealer, and he basically told me I'd be stupid if I sold my PRS, and because he's a close friend of mine, like if it was anybody else I'd probably jump over the counter and be in jail right now, but because we have such a long history together, I'm taking his advice very seriously. I'm going to sit on the guitar for a couple months before I do anything with it, just to see where my feelings lie in about 6 months. You don't know this, but it's got some finish issues. Many PRSs come with a brittle finish. That's something that's been said before, and mine is taking the abuse rather not well. The edge is chipping slightly where nothing is rubbing against it, which is wild. And I'm just kind of beside myself because it's the first time I've ever spent over $1,500 on a guitar. I've spent $1,500 a few times, but I've never spent over that. And this was a 35th anniversary S2. So it looks worse than my SG that I had for like 4 or 5 years within 6 or 8 months. So, but that said, you know, I wasn't gigging the SG, so that's probably part of it. And I have been gigging this one. So anyway, I was told guitars are supposed to wear like.
Where is she? There it is. I beat Will Riker to death all the time, and he has. I'm still waiting for some of the wear points.
Yeah. Well, so that's, you know, and that's the thing. Like, when you get a fresh, expensive guitar made with nitro, they're gonna wear a little bit. But I don't expect to see look down and see like white dust accumulating on the edge bevel where the finish is like cracking away. And what's wild is I can buff it and it smooths out because it's nitro. But it's like, should I have to do that? It seems a little wild. So, and then we've gone back and forth with customer service over there. That's been a thing on the show. I've shared some of those wonderful emails with our viewers, and they basically told me, "Oh, it's your strap," and I'm like, "Really? It's $100 Levy strap? Like, I'm pretty sure you got a lot of customers using these, and that seems kind of nuts." So anyway,
yeah, not a cheap like $15 Guitar Center brand.
They make their straps for PRS. Like everybody's straps are, not everybody, but a lot of companies' straps are made by Levi's.
Believe it or not, that strap, and that strap are all PRS leather straps.
And I'll bet you
they're like Gibson's. The only Gibson that's got a Gibson strap on is right there.
It's the big padded one, right?
And it's the nice padded.
Yeah, so I bet if I bring my Levy straps down there and compare, we'll find out they're very, very similar.
They will be. As a matter of fact, I have a gift for you. I have something new. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I have a gift for you. So when you come
Another one?
Look what I got.
Oh, you got a of Eddie Van Halen? Okay.
I got this for you.
Oh, well. All
right. I know you're a huge fan, so.
You've heard me playing some of the Van Halen stuff, like, you know. Yeah.
I got a hot topic today. Believe it or not, it was a hot topic. Don't ask me why.
Everybody always gives me crap because, like, they're like, "Oh, you know, I'm into Van Halen, like I have been, but I don't play like that." And then every once in a while, it comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh, I didn't know that was there." It's like, yeah, it's there, you know.
What I also got this week, as you know, I got a Cannabis Rex.
Oh, did you?
So I got a Cannabis Rex 12-inch replacement speaker for my Blues Junior. So the idea is, can I change that speaker? And I'm gonna do a vid. So I haven't changed it yet because I want to play it, record it, do a short video of that, put that up, and then do a video of that, and then kind of do a video where I side by side it. So I want to do 3 videos. There'll be one with the Jensen. That's the C12. I didn't get the cheap one. I got the C12N VOS. And then I have the Cannabis Rex that I just ordered from Sweetwater. And I'm going to side by side those things. And I'm going to see, what do I think? So that's going to be a tough one. Because right now, I got to be honest with you. And Dylan, you've probably been here where I am. The Jensen's great for those clean sounds, but once I get up a little bit into that breakup and I get into a little volume, it literally starts farting out, and I go.
Jensen's are my least favorite speaker.
Yeah, and not to say that they're a bad speaker, because remember when Fender was putting those in
Celestia
stock,
makes some bad speakers too. If I can point you in the direction of a couple.
Yeah. And so I said, you know what? I've heard a lot of good things about the Cannabis Rex. It's a speaker that's supposed to handle a little bit of low end and drive. Let's see what happens. So
I've owned a Cannabis Rex too, so I will reserve judgment, but I have my opinions on that.
And you know what? And if it falls out the way you said, it's $100. It's $100. So you know, and in that cabinet, like the size of the speaker, like the dimensions of the magnet are going to play an important role. I might have to change the cabinet. That may be a
right.
Have to,
but even the dimensions, not even if it doesn't, if it doesn't touch, because the magnet is in close proximity to the tubes, it can affect tube life. Yep. That's something that's been told to me. Like That's why, in general, combos, they vibrate anyway. But if, you got a motor in there.
I know, and I have a pile of combos over here.
Yeah.
What you don't see beside me is I've got a Fender Twin, I've got a Marshall DSL, I've got a Boss Katana, I've got the what you can see, which is funny, is the non-amp that goes to the Kemper. That's the Alto. That's kind of there.
I got a high five because I sold my Kemper. I won't say who did that, but it was like, yeah. When I told, because they asked if I sold.
I got to be honest with you. I love the Kemper, and I'm still in love with it. I haven't fallen out of love with it for what it does. It's objective, and the purpose that I bought it, it's fine. But everybody's like, Jim, how come you don't take it to open mic? I go, because the sound guy sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly. That's why I stopped taking mine. It was literally the same problem. It was hit or miss, and those misses were not fun. So
no, and so I'm not doing it.
Yeah, honestly, like, even I've got an open mic conundrum right now too, because I've been taking the Fillmore, and I'm like, I want to take my Mark out in order for me to do a head and cabinet, because they only recently brought out the 10-inch 525 cabinet. So
yep.
Anyway, do you have something that you'd like to share with our listeners that's new?
Gee, Dylan, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you're new.
Yeah, I guess I'm new around here. Well, we'll probably talk about this later, but basically in the last 60 days, everything for me is new. We've completely changed up a bunch of stuff. But this week, I have, the Texas Toast Challenger Special is right there. I just got that on Friday. Played it all weekend. I just got I used it in a video a week ago, maybe, a Strat, a Mexican Strat. That won't stay around very long. This week I just got, it's right up there, and you'll see it in some videos very soon. So this is kind of a sneak peek. Have you ever heard of Somnium guitars?
No.
I was going to ask about that. So that's the guitar where you can pull the pickups out and put the pickups.
Oh,
in.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I've seen that system. I just didn't recognize the body.
This is probably the best executed for those that are only listening. It's an aluminum case that's all tied in underneath the neck pocket, everything. It's really well executed. There's a 9-volt battery in it because you could actually run like a passive pickup here and an active pickup here if you wanted to, and it does whatever it does. It's really wild. It's a wild thing, and they asked me to do a review on it and send me one. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I'm not going to ask for a review. I'll wait for the video.
A guy like you, Dylan, because of what you do, I think that thing's that would be a perfect add to your, a tool in your wood shop.
That's kind of why I agreed to do it, because I was like, because we talked about it, and I'm like, are you going to send, because they're not cheap. And I was like, are you going to send me one? I don't want to buy one. I'll check it out, and if I like it, maybe I'll review it. And he's like, well, if I let you keep it, will you use it in other videos to like test stuff? And I'm like, well, heck yeah, I would. So for example, I don't know if you caught it, but there is a telly pickup in the neck, a telly bridge pickup in the neck position of that guitar right now. Yeah. Which you can't do, which is kind of fun. So there's all kinds of wacko things that you could do with that guitar. Yeah. So that's a new thing that happened this week. And then, I have a bunch of new stuff. I've been buying guitars like left and right now.
I need to stop too.
Well,
you don't need to stop necessarily, but I do.
Yeah. So we kind of have a little system around here where what I do is I get on like Patreon, to my Patreon folks and some of the YouTube members and stuff. And I'm like, hey, do any of you want X or Y guitar? Because if you do, I'll go buy one. I'll use it in a bunch of videos. And then put new pickups in it and upgrade it and stuff. And then typically what I do is I just sell it to somebody, a viewer or whatever.
Yeah, right.
For whatever I paid for it, but then it'll have all of the stuff, whatever upgrades we did for the video series and all that. So they end up with a decent deal because it's, still a brand new guitar. I only use it in a few videos. I don't.
Right.
So that's what the Strat is. That's probably what the PRS Silver Sky SE will be. I'm keeping I bought my core one, and I'm keeping that. Well, I bought most of it. I'm keeping that guitar.
You got the rose one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
It's crazy because I'm a Strat freak. I think people are a little taken aback by it because, so the red Strat that's hanging up here is an 85 Japanese Strat that I got in 87 or 89. I've had it since then. And that's my first real electric guitar. And I'll never, ever sell it. And I love it. And because of some of the people that I design pickups for and stuff, I've played and had access to the best Strats in the world. Literally, not own them.
61s and stuff, yeah.
Right. I got a buddy that's got a 61, a 63, a 64, a 66, and then the people that I've worked for from various custom shops and stuff have had things. I've played prototypes of ridiculous guitar, custom shop guitars, and I'm a huge Strat fan. I would love to own as many vintage Strats as I could ever get my hands on. I just can't. I'm not going to say I can't. For me, it's a dumb way to spend $25,000.
Right.
If I was going to spend $25,000, I would buy probably a Porsche Cayman. I wouldn't buy a Strat. So I just don't care about, this is terrible to say, but I just don't care about guitars enough to spend that much money on a specific one. So all that to say, when the Silver Sky came along and I was like, oh, dang, Mr. Strat guy really likes this thing, I think people were kind of taken back by it. But I love it. It's my favorite guitar right now.
Well, in a lot of ways. Go ahead.
My favorite electric guitar. It's my favorite electric guitar for sure.
In a lot of ways, and we've talked about that. That guitar's been on. We've discussed it often on the show. It is the most vintage spec production guitar you can get.
Without going custom shop.
Without going to either a custom shop option or one of the really uber boutique expensive options that do exist. Yeah, right. So there's Nash, right? But even Nash, that's the finish thing. There are things about the necks and stuff that they don't get right on those guitars because they're sourcing the parts from somebody. I'm a Strat guy too. So, but you're going to find I have a whole different attitude about Strats, I think, than most people, because number one, I'm younger, right? So I'm 37 to put it in perspective. So I have a G&L S500. That's my main squeeze. That's the guitar that I always come back to. I've owned, Kiesels and everything else in the interim. And right now I've got a PRS S2 as well. And that was just because I needed a dual humbucker guitar for something I was doing. So I have that white Fender that I'm actually getting, that we mentioned that I'm getting Fishman's put in and, getting that thing all revamped. And if you were to put a gun to my head and say, build me another Warmoth, I would probably go and just buy another Strat body and another Strat neck and go that direction. But I am non-traditional. I don't like vintage Strat pickups. The reason I like the S500 is the MFDs. That's a big, fat, loud sounding pickup that's sort of like a humbucker in a lot of ways. More like a P90. It's not a P90. It's very specifically, distinctly different than a P90, but it's not, it's very in the similar wheelhouse in terms of what it does. I
did a video on those. Showed them side by side and took them apart. I have a pair of the ones out of a Telly.
Right.
One of
right. The big fat ASAT ones. Mm-hmm. So these are more like the Strat sized ones, but it's the same principle, right? Yep. And everybody who plays this guitar says, wow, that's different. like that's a really different sound than what I was expecting to get out of it. I'm cool with that. Like, and that was my go-to thing because it was so different than standard Strat pickups. And of course, Nick sent me a set of pickups that we actually gave away to our viewers, that I put into a red G&L Legacy, the tribute, right? Took the stock ones out, and his pickups were noticeably better. They were a different design. I believe his bridge pickup had a base plate, or it was either base plate or bar magnet. I can't remember which. And it was like noticeably different. I actually liked that set a little bit more than standard sets, but it was still pretty vintage. And it's like, I'd still want to do something like MFD style, or in my case, I'm going to Fishman's. I'm doing HSS because that makes most sense to me. See,
that's where I'm at. If I was to build myself, because for what I want, we used to build a bunch of Strats, and for what I want, I would jump straight to building my own guitar. And the closest off-the-shelf thing I can think of that I would probably want would be the Schecter Nick Johnston.
Yeah, very similar.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Roasted maple neck, single hum, alder body, all the pickups and stuff would come out, and I'd make my own.
So not the USA version, not the one with the Wenge neck, the one with the roasted maple.
Yeah, I want a roasted maple neck, and I would do a flatter. Well, that's a really flat radius. I'd probably do a 12-inch radius. I like a 12-inch radius on a Strat for me. And it would be like it would be a rocking Strat.
Yeah, my G&L is also a 12-inch. But I like, so whenever somebody tells me like they're into the Silver Sky, it's really wild to me because it's like 7.25, 7.5. I don't remember which. I'm like, oh, it's bewildering. I'm like, how do you bend on that? Like, so.
Yeah, that's where I would go. And I know this is like super controversial, but the other thing that I would do, the other option is I would have the custom shop make me one relict, but the same way, single hum, because I don't like shiny guitars.
I got a PRS I can sell you.
I don't like shiny Strats and Tellys.
Okay, all right.
The PRS Silver Sky, I can deal with that in shiny. But if it's a Fender Stratocaster or a Fender Telly, it has to be beat up. Otherwise, I cannot play. Like this Mexican thing I have right here, it's just, I can't. Yeah, I can't do it. It just
That's
doesn't.
A Player Plus, right? The one you got was Player, yeah.
849.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the thickness of the finish that gets to you, or is it just the idea that like,
the finishes aren't that thick anymore? I think that's a pretty big misnomer. The finishes aren't that thick anymore, but just the shiny feel. I don't know. I don't like it.
So that body I'm working on is actually from a 90s, 2001 Jimmy Vaughn Strat, and I can see where there's like pinholes in the finish on the inside of the body and stuff. I mean, this thing has been put through the mill. I cranked the bridge screws down so far they went through the body, and there's like little pinholes in the backside, so I can actually see the depth of the finish. And back then they were pretty thick. It was like, whoa.
85 that one is pretty thick too.
Yeah,
mid 80s, man. The whole VOC thing. I used to paint cars and manage a collision shop and stuff, and that whole time period was terrible for any kind of finishes because they were trying to figure out how to get VOCs down. And so, it just didn't work very well. You had paint falling off of cars and you had guitars with finish that thick, It's not that way anymore, but
There was a bunch of Fords. Now you mention it, there was a bunch of Fords, and I can't remember if it was Ford in general or a particular model.
They're just the ones
there was
that
a
got
bunch
caught.
of Fords where people, they were all of a sudden the finish was falling off the roofs. The paint was just falling off the roof. And
Chevy had that too with the 8624 Olympic white. Everything just flew off the car.
Yeah.
Yep.
My brother actually paints cars. We used to paint cars for a living, and that was like he talked about the changes in the environmental regulations and everything that had caused that, and that was even going on in the late '90s. So, I can imagine.
Yeah, I think one of the.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I think one of the reactions was at a certain point there was a tipping point, right, where we didn't care. I used to tell David about, like, you're probably closer to my age, given when you got your first electric guitar, than David is. I'm 57. I'll be 58 this year.
I'm your children.
Yeah. But anyway, so what happened was there was a tipping point. I remember when I was a kid, you stuck stickers on your guitar. You didn't like the finish. You sanded it off with sandpaper and you painted it yourself, and it might look like shit, kind of like what George Harrison did and what's his name, Clapton did with The Fool. So that was not uncommon, really.
How are you going to sell that to a blues? How are you going to sell that to a rock doctor or a blues lawyer?
Well, see, that's just it. So then what happened was,
but resale value,
right? There was this, and Norm of Norm's Rare Guitars is part of the good part, but also the bad part, in that what happened was all of a sudden there was this resale, and suddenly people were afraid. My son was saying today, he saw, we were watching Hot for Teacher live, because I was talking about the kick drums and how Alex would use a actual 2 physical kick drums instead of a double pedal on one. And he goes, how the heck? He had 4 kick drums. And Kyle goes, how the heck did he do that? I go, well, sometimes he's playing over here, sometimes he's playing over there, and he still wants to do that. And so anyway, what it came down to was this. Eddie Van Halen took his guitar and stripped it to pieces, right? All these
it was
famous
built
guitars,
out of pieces. It didn't start as anything.
Yeah, it didn't even start right. Brian May built his guitar out of what
an oak table
mantle over it, right?
Yeah,
and the mantle from over his fireplace. I mean, there's this thing where all of a sudden it's got to be pristine, and this is what I was talking about with you when we were talking online last week. And I said, I get that somebody wants to buy a guitar that's worn in, the neck's worn in, the feel of the finish is worn. I get all that because we would do it ourselves. And I get that if somebody wants to pay for it to be done, I get it. What I don't get is a cigarette burn on a headstock and a ding in the lower bout.
It's the tone. You know what I mean? You gotta have that cigarette burn for the tone.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're gonna get a smoky sound, Jim.
Just to finish it, just to finish. My son said, Dad, he's got a dog chain around, and he just used those clips to clip his guitar. And I go, yeah, because he's Eddie Van Halen. He doesn't give a shit about that.
He didn't care what it looked like.
No. The whole relic thing's really funny because people get so bent out of shape about it.
Oh, I know, right?
It's very simple for me. It's that I just said that I would like to have a 63, 64 CBS Strat that was played for real, that does have all that stuff.
That's right.
But it's not realistic to afford it.
Yeah, I would rather buy a car or a motorcycle than a guitar.
That's right.
For that kind of money.
Yep.
Or a couple motorcycles for that kind of money. And then the other thing is that if I were to buy a lacquer finished guitar, I am of the age that there is not 65 years left in my life.
No, right.
To wear the guitar to the point that I'm going to pay somebody else to get it where I want it.
Absolutely.
You just play it in. Well, let me tell you, it's harder than you think to play a guitar into that, to make it look like that. It has to be 65 years old.
So I should keep the PRS and we'll do it now.
I don't think people realize too. These guitars from the 60s are not 20 years old.
No, they're almost 70 years old.
Yes. That guitar right there is almost 40 years old.
Excuse me, I'm from the 60s.
So you're not one owner. So you're not one owner is what you're saying.
Look at these wear marks.
The original owner died already. I totally get that. First of all, and we're going to talk about this more, I think you should play whatever the heck you want to play. Whatever floats your frickin' boat, that's what you should pick up and that's what you should play. And if you love it, then it's great. Seriously.
and I wish more people would just accept the fact that not everybody's going to agree on it, and we should love each other and love and respect each other's opinions over that thing. I'm an old school hippie. I come from the 60s. I mean, that's just what I do. But anyway, so
what's an opinion?
Yeah, exactly. I guess we don't get to have them. But no, and it comes to that's why I wanted to invite you on here, because you have an opinion, and your strong opinion. Well, I watch your live shows sometimes, and because I've chimed in and talked to you guys.
Yeah, I love it.
And the thing that makes me laugh is how you don't give a shit. And we talk like that, so it's okay on this show.
Yeah, believe me.
You don't give a shit. You do not give two flying fucks what that person on the other end thinks, because the truth of the matter is, it's okay for them to have their opinion, and it's okay for them to do it, but it should be also okay for you to have your opinion.
I think people should just be civil about it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I think for me, the where I get disconnected from it is, and what I'm really trying to kind of focus on more is, I don't care what capacitors are in your guitar, man. Like, are you like, what did you play today? I think I said this in a video a couple weeks ago, or maybe I didn't. Maybe we were just talking about it, me and Leslie. If there was some sort of universal rule that in order to post in a guitar forum or in comments on YouTube, you had to verify that you played guitar for 30 minutes that day before you were allowed to comment,
no one would comment.
Would be a different place.
No one would comment.
That's what I'm saying.
The vast majority of them would not comment. Jim and I are 30 plus minutes a day, at minimum. And
I know you are too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my normal regimen is like 3 or 4 hours a day, and I play until I'm bored. Like, literally cannot figure anything else out to do on the instrument that excites me at that moment. And
that changes your perspective about how not even like, okay, now I'm allowed to say something because I'm an actual guitar player. I don't even mean it like that.
No,
I mean it like,
you have the experience,
guitar, like love and peace and freaking rock and roll. Now I'm going to go make a comment instead of, I hate my life because I sell insurance and all I can do is have my wife yell at me. You know, like, you changed your perspective on your day before. Right. You used the music for the purpose that it was intended to, not like as a fighting thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's so funny to me. It's hilarious.
People really have to defend their positions, and that's really what it boils down to. You know, like, they'll die on a hill. And we've been guilty of that on this show too, by the way. Every once in a while we have a thing where one of us is going to die on a hill for something. And it's just, like, you got to kind of like take a step back. And when I'm editing, I'm always listening back and I'm going, I just need to take a step back and like really think about this, because the reality is none of this really matters, you know? I think people get me wrong a lot of times, because when I say I don't care about stuff, Leslie gets on me for saying this. She's like, you need to say this differently. I don't care about what it's not that I don't care about what you think or about you and your feelings about your opinion. I care deeply about that. Like, that's why we're here. But I don't care what you think. You can think whatever you want. And if we disagree on tone wood or lacquer finishes or oil and water. I almost said oil and water. Paper and oil capacitors. Like, right. At the end of it, or the beginning of it, or in the middle of it, I just don't care. If you like it, play it. Let's jam. Like, I just don't care, you know? And I am also, because people kind of take me as being some kind of big know-it-all, but what it really comes down to is, I don't want to be wrong, because it's really hard to be wrong on the internet these days. You don't want to be wrong, so I'm wrong all the time to make sure that you're not wrong. But I also don't care if I am, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. And if I wind to pick up a certain way or file a nut a certain way, I just don't care if you do it different. Tell me how you do it. Maybe I'll learn something. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, there is no wrong, really. You know, it's
I don't know. I'm way more chill about it than people realize. I mean, because to me, this is not like a religion. Like, my instrument is, I'll just go get another one. You know, it's a piece of wood with wires on it, and I don't really care. You know, I'm going to route this one.
I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about making things, but I'm not necessarily passionate about gear in the way that people think we are too, because we've gotten, for some reason, this show had always started out being a guitar podcast, not guitar equipment podcast. And it's just taken this tact because a lot of the questions that we get are equipment related. And it also comes from the fact that there were other podcasts at the time we started that were all equipment focused. And it's kind of driven us in that direction a little bit more. But we do episodes where we talk about theory and stuff. We're usually wrong. And according to the fan base, you know, we're usually wrong. So, you know, and again, you know as well as I do, like, theory is something that people skin cats onto and find different ways to explain the same thing. But definitely, you know, I can relate to what you're saying right now. What you're saying is basically like people take everything out of context. And when you say so, the classic one we talk about on the show all the time, tone wood doesn't matter. And then I know we're going to talk about that later because the video reaction. But, you know, tone wood doesn't matter. Tone wood doesn't matter. And it's like, well, it matters to somebody. I mean, It may not matter for the reasons that they think it matters. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
My get out of jail statement with that now is it matters what I tell when they ask me, and I already know that they're like, that's their religion.
They're down the rabbit hole. Right.
Yeah. I'm like, you know, to me, it matters as much as it's important to you to feel a physical reaction from the guitar when you play it. If that's important to you, then that matters to you.
Right.
Even though your ideas and about all the physics about it is wrong, I don't care. That's not the point. The point is some people want to strum a guitar and be like, oh, dude, it's so resonant, bro. And that's what makes them connect with the guitar, even though it's wrong scientifically. Whatever. It's cool, man. Like,
it's the vibe they get from it, you know?
Yes. And if it makes you play better, fine.
Or if it keeps you interested or excited about it.
A beat up guitar does that for me. It doesn't do it for Jim.
Right. Okay. Oh no. Now hold on. You're right.
In the same context. You know what I mean? Right. In the same in the relicking context.
That's right.
You know, it's fine. If it makes you connect with the instrument more, then believe in it.
And that's exactly
garbage. But
right. And whatever makes you pick that guitar up and play it, like you said, that is and we've said that 100 times. That's why I don't get why people think that we have that concept, because we say, you know, there's often people are like, you're disparaging inexpensive guitars, blah, blah, blah. No, what we're disparaging is your belief that this $150 guitar is just as good as that $3,000 guitar. That's like saying my Honda Civic is just as good as that
911 Turbo
Mercedes S500 or that Tesla, you know.
I've been getting pretty hammered lately about the Harley Benton stuff, and I just
I've seen you.
You're not the only one that's getting hammered for Harley Benton.
It's not even a quality thing to me. This is supposed to be an art, and this is so. When I bought my daughter her first guitar, I bought her one of those little baby Martins.
Sure,
I could have got her a Glary. I could have got her a Harley Benton. I could have got her anything I wanted for $450 or less. But I got her a little Martin because I knew that brand recognition, that quality of materials, player experience I wanted to build it into a thing if she was going to play for the rest of her life, put her on a path of greatness. And those brands, Harley Benton, SX, all those whatever all those things are. To me, they cheapen the experience of what this should be. And as a result, and I get really hammered for making this generalization, but you have to understand where you have to look at the whole picture and nuance it a little bit. What those brands do, they don't produce guitar collectors. They produce people who are like, yeah, this is good for the money. And now I have 10 of them hanging in my house so that I can show my friends that don't play guitar that I have these 10 cool looking guitars. And when I take a picture and put it on Instagram, it looks like I have a lot of guitars.
Right.
It's the same people. I mean, it's the same people that like you will stand in line at Walmart for a half an hour waiting for all the coupons so they can save like 17 cents. Like, I understand why you are that person, but those brands to me take that person and suck the art out of them. And they just put the budget mind into them where they really should be focusing on the art. And those brands don't do that. That's really what I'm on about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean that echoes sort of what we've said, like especially the people that have like 15 of them, right?
Yeah.
But what my observation is in the community that like, and remember, I have to say this every time we talk about this. When we talk about the community of guitar players that we see on the internet, that's a fraction of the people that actually play guitar, buy equipment, and do all that stuff. But the people you see on the internet, there is an echo chamber, and they're all looking for confirmation that what they bought is okay, and that's fine, I guess. But the issue I have with it is that if you're all looking for confirmation, you're going to start feeding each other, and then it's not real confirmation, is it? Like, no. And the other question you should be asking yourself is, if I need confirmation, there's a problem here. Should I even be doing this?
Just to kind of confirmation bias what you just said, I guess. When I go out to open mics and I talk to my friends, and I have a lot of guitar playing friends. If you look at you can't look at my friends list because I block it on my Facebook page because that's what you should do. But if you saw my friends list, of the 1,400 friends, 1,350 of those people are guitar players. Okay. Yeah. But you know what's funny about 1,350 of those guitar players? Probably 1,100 of them don't know that Guitar Podcast exists.
No.
And they don't care. And the truth is, when I go to open mics, I'm like, I have learned not to like drop podcast names. And then they go, "You have a podcast?" And I go, "Yeah, just like I told you the last 12 times we met." And you don't care anyway, but sure, I'll go over it again. And I don't say that, but I do say, yes, I do. And it's a practical, oh, I should check it out. They never do. I don't care because that's not their thing. I think that part of the podcast community, and certainly part of the Facebook side of community, because we've all been on pedal boards of doom or whatever.
Yeah.
Is, okay, how many times have you seen it where somebody goes, I would never spend X dollars for a guitar, or anybody that spends X dollars is an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay. And you go, I just want to say,
what difference is it?
Why? Yeah. Why does it matter to you?
What I found is that only the online people do that. You go to that same open mic night, and I think a lot of people too, if you have a podcast or a YouTube channel, obviously, and probably for me is probably worse because we make a boutique product. So people are going to automatically, if they're a negative minded person, they're going to automatically think I'm like a guitar snob.
Yep.
But, I'll go to an open mic night and I just sit there in awe. I'm like, this dude sounds amazing on his like $399 Jackson Dinky through his Fender Mustang 20 whatever, $150 line 6 whatever, but he's there and he's doing it, and he is playing Wonderwall or he's playing a Van Halen song and he's there doing it, and I'm like, and he's up in front of people and he's nervous as hell, and but he sounds like he sounds. And then what's crazy is you'll go to that same open mic night for 2 years, and the next thing you know, that dude, maybe he has a $600 guitar now and he has a Blues Junior and he's got a gig.
Right.
Because he went out there and he did it. And you're like,
right.
This is so cool. So I don't gear snob. I'm like, it's a journey. Like everything is a journey for people. You know, it doesn't matter.
As long as you keep on that journey, though. If you get into the perspective like where you're stuck in a rut, then you got trouble.
But what you have to do is not listen to people on the internet. That's the only thing you have to do. Like, just go have your own game.
What is somebody was there was something related to Harley Benton that somebody told me. Oh, I remember we were talking about Harley Benton at Open Jam. I brought it up to somebody. Somebody's like, well, you know, I got $175. I wanted to get a guitar that I could maybe put in a different tuning. And I was like, save your money. And nobody said anything. But I was like, well, I suppose you could buy like a Harley Benton or something. They're like, what's Harley Benton? And it just took me completely back to what we were saying originally, which is nobody even knows who these brands are. I mean, realistically, unless you're on the internet and you're like clued into all this stuff, you don't know who these people are. Like, so
let's face it, Harley Benton, a lot of those companies, Firefly, you name it, they come out with guitars that are like you were just talking about, Dylan. They're not art. They're garbage. I mean, and I'm not saying garbage like, hold on, I that's not a good word.
Yeah, that's a terrible word, Jim.
It is.
They're just not the same thing. They're meant to hit a price point.
Right. What I mean is when you're done with them, they're trash. They're not meant to sit on the wall unless it was your first guitar. Like Dylan, you've got your first guitar. A lot of people, I burned mine. I did mine Jimi Hendrix style. I've told this story on the show before.
I've heard people shoot crossbow bolts through them.
I had one of those piece of shit things that you got from Sears. It was a silver tone with the amp in the case.
You know, it'd be worth like $20,000 today. Yeah.
They were shit then. They're shit now. But anyway, and I was only the second owner of that thing.
I'm like, I'll give you $1,000 for it right now. I really want one of those.
Exactly. And believe me, if I had it, I'd ship it to you for free. Whatever you want, you pay for the shipping, and I'd get it the fuck out of my house. So anyway, and that's the truth. But
that's so funny.
But I got a Les Paul custom, you know. But I saved for 2 years, and but I played that thing, and that's the thing that people miss is I played that thing. It was never meant to last that long. It really wasn't. I mean, they made them out of plywood. It was literally no better than as a matter of fact, slightly better than the particle board you get from Walmart right now that is a dresser for $60, right? So
guitar.
Yeah. And so I get and I understand, like you were just talking about, you would take that guitar off my hands. I understand that too. And that thing, I hate to tell you, but that was the years that you were talking about too. That was like an early '60s thing. Yep. The point that I'm making here isn't that. The point that I'm making is these ears and everything else, they're not meant to be passed on to your grandchildren, and they're not built to be given to your son at for his first gig, or your daughter for her first gig. They're meant to be a guitar that sits in the show. My kids, my sons both have the guitars they picked. So one of them has an Ibanez RG, but the other one has a Fender Strat, and my daughter has a PRS. So those are their guitars. They're for them to take care of. And unfortunately, whenever the strings need to be changed, guess who does it? But the point is that they're meant to go on to my grandchildren.
They're not student models, right?
Right.
So
and when I had someone come into Guitar Center, that very short period, I only worked there for a year. It feels a lot of people are like, yeah, you worked I worked there for a year part-time so I could afford some of the stuff that's hanging behind me. Because I used that money and poured it right back into the guitars, and I got a discount, so it was double good. But the point is that when someone would ask me, they'd say, how come this guitar, blah, blah, blah? And I would say, it's diminishing returns. If it doesn't look like it's worth it to you, it's not worth it. But that guitar right there, when I give that to my grandchild, that's going to be an ooh-ah moment. It's not going to be like, oh, thanks for your eart. You know? I mean, not that I would think my grandchildren would be unappreciative. I just mean that it's not the guitar they would have dreamed of. It's not the guitar that they saw whatever Guitar Hero playing and thought that's the one thing that they want from, for the rest of their lives. And so that's what I'm getting at. And I appreciate what you said, Dylan, as far as that goes, because that's really what it comes to.
And on the other side of the coin too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm also the opposite in a way. I'll never sell that red Strat, and I've got one guitar that my grandfather gave me. It's in the closet. I don't even play it. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I and my wife and I are very well. Our lifestyle bears it out, but it took us a while to get there. We are not attached to anything. And so that comes down to my instruments. That comes down to everything. I have a guitar right now that I don't really want to, two guitars that I really don't want to sell, but one of them is for sale. Not because I have to, but because what if there's something better out there? In fact, I already know there is. So I'm not attached to anything in that way, so it's two sides to it.
Right.
I don't get overly attached to them.
I understand that completely. And that's another bit of respect that like I said, that's something that is your lifestyle. So going along with that, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about what you were saying with, is it okay if we use her name?
Sure, yeah.
So you and Leslie went out on the road. Mm-hmm. So just to give folks who haven't watched Dylan's show, Leslie and he moved everything into another person's house. I'm not going to say who. And they went on the road. And the show and their life was in what was it, a 40-foot or?
Yeah, 38 foot. Yeah.
38 foot, yeah.
So, yeah. So we, in 2019, we actually didn't put anything. So in 2019, we sold our house. We had a house for, we've been married 9 years. So the first 7 years we lived in this house. We had it built in 2012 or something, 13. And for the first 7 years we lived there, accumulated a whole house full of stuff and sold all of it.
Wow.
Except for some art from the kids and some of my personal, I do have some art. So that stuff and a couple of family heirloom things are sitting in a storage still. But other than that, everything was gone. We sold everything. We stayed then we sold our house. It was totally empty. It got down to a bunch of crap in the middle of the floor, and I just had somebody come and get it. We got rid of everything. And then we bought a 40-foot motor, 38-foot motorhome, Class A, and a Jeep Wrangler, and we drove around for 2 years making pickups and videos. And my wife actually has another full-time job.
Right.
So she did that as well. And we did that for a couple years. We did not really have any intentions to stop. We probably still would be doing it. But there was a couple things that kind of happened. It was just kind of world scene kind of stuff. When COVID started to lift a little bit and they opened Canada back up, that really put a hurting on the availability for us to be able to stay places longer term, a couple of weeks, a month at a time, because all those tourists all of a sudden came from Canada and just like Florida is booked till next year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that made it difficult. And then the other thing is we picked up some clients. We, and when I first started doing the RV thing, we were making 30 pickups a month. Mm-hmm. And we have a bunch of stuff that we put together, and that was enough. We're fine. I think I made 30 on Thursday.
Wow.
I mean, it's insanely busy. We are insanely busy. We're on a 2-week wait. We're making a lot of pickups. And right now, it's mostly for just retail folks off the website. Like we're really busy. And I was just like, we're getting to the point where I have an age that I will never retire, but I want to get to a point where I don't really have to think that hard about how to pay the bills. I guess that's my version of retirement, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I have an age number for that, and it is approaching. And I thought, well, if we just buckle down, if we stop traveling, if we buckle down and we do some things right, maybe I could hit that goal. Right. So we got an apartment. It's just a 2-bedroom apartment. And this is one of the bedrooms in the apartment. And so I sit here and make pickups and make YouTube videos. And my wife has her office. We don't have a dining room. It's her office because we wanted to stay super simple because we sold our big motorhome and we got a van. So like a Sprinter van kind of deal. Yep. So that those are great. It's a Dodge Ram ProMaster. It's not a Sprinter, but it's the same concept.
Right.
And so we can still travel. You know, we're going on a trip next weekend. I actually got to go up to Casino Guitars and do some stuff. We got to do, we're going to Texas Toast in Colorado in May for a month. Then we're going to go to the NAMM show. You know, we got a lot of traveling to do still. But this gives us a home base where we can get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. So that's been the change since December. So we sold the motorhome, we sold the Jeep, we bought a car, we bought another motorhome, we got an apartment, you know, just kind of switched all around. And now I have room for guitars because I only had room for a couple of guitars before.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the 900 square foot condo myself, and like space is a premium. I wish you could see what was around me, right? I don't want the audience to see what is around me right now, but it's tight.
Yeah, I have a small home. I was lucky when I bought this house. The studio was built. The guy before me, the neighbors were complaining about the noise because he was a drummer, and so he built this studio to practice in. And then, he was 2 before me, and then the guy before me used it as man cave. And so when I moved in, I said, well, this is going to become my guitar room, and that's what it is now. That's what you see. And what you can't see is Funko Pops over here and Guitar World magazines, because I have like 1,900 of them. And
he's not joking. He has every issue since like 1978.
I remember you said that. That's cool.
And then my amps over here, they're piled up. You can't see them, but they're literally right here. I can put my hands on them. And so I'm in my swivel chair, right? And so I can swivel around and grab a guitar, right? That's not as far away as it looks. This room's only 11 feet. And, I put the guitars on the wall, but the one that I'm playing actively, which I was just finished doing maintenance on 2 guitars for someone else. An old Guild, which was really cool, and a guy's relatively new Martin. And so I was doing the stuff on those, and so I didn't have my guitar on the thing. I had that. And so it's funny because, we make room for what we do, what our passion is. Mm-hmm. David has given me crap because he's like, you're a collector because you got more than 2 Les Pauls. I think actually because I have more than 1.
So, no. You're allowed to have 2 because you need a backup, but beyond 2 is collector territory.
Yeah. And so he's kind of right. And I have one that's not here right now.
You have 4.
Yeah, I have 4. I have one that's not with me right now. A buddy of mine is playing it, but I'll probably get it back this week. But the point is that there's a passion for our gear and what we do. But I was just, I was amazed that you and Leslie were able to just up and go and live in a 38-foot home that had, I've been in one of those things, and I've ridden it. I've never like owned one, and I thought to myself, wow, where do they put everything in it? And it's amazing how you managed your life and managed the videos. Because one week you're in, Georgia, and the next week you're in Tennessee, and the next week you're in, Arizona or something. And I was like, the guy's all over the freaking place.
The question I had, so you make pickups, right? And obviously you have to test said pickups. And I'm not talking about just making sure they work, but like actually when you design something, you gotta, get loud and with an amplifier. Are you going to like a rehearsal space to do that when you're on the road, or are you just
I use the Kemper.
Okay. All right.
I use the Kemper. I had a Kemper and a Helix.
Okay. I've had both too, so.
Yeah. And then later on, I actually got rid of some stuff. And so I had some space. So I bought a Marshall. I actually have a Marshall Origin 20. And see, that was part of the thing. Part of the thing was, for a couple years, we didn't really design anything new.
Right.
We sold basically what I was making, and I had a lot of ideas. We had a lot of stuff. And then I started working. I designed pickups for another company. And it just got my brain, and we went and we were there for a couple of months, and I got my brain kind of flowing again. And I'm like, I want to make some more stuff. And, we've come out with, probably in the next month, there'll be 3 new models of pickups out. We got some Silver Sky stuff coming. We've got some new Strat stuff coming. We've got a new humbucker that just came out, and I've got another new humbucker that's about to come out. And that's all since December, because I've been sitting on this stuff, because exactly what you're saying, I didn't have the mental or physical real estate to be extra creative, because it was getting so busy that everything was super regimented, and you would be like, I'm going to wind this pickups, and then I'm going to tear all this down and put this away, and then get out a camera and shoot a video. Then put the camera away, and then get out the wax pot and wax pot those pickups that I just made. And then I'm going to put that away. And, and now it's kind of like the spin around chair. We sit here and we wind. And the soldering station is there, and the wax pot is there, and the press is there, and the magnetizer is there, and the shipping department with the scale is over there, and the editing bay is behind me, and I don't have to, and we've got a Focusrite 18i8 right there. So if I want to use the Marshall with the full pedal board, I can just flip a switch. If I want to use the Spark 40 and a video, I can just flip a switch. If we want to mic and acoustic, if I want to use do a voiceover, all the things are all set up, and I could just sit down and hit a button and do it, and before it was like, put all this stuff away.
That's how my lifestyle is. Even if I want to plug in an amp, like I have to literally plug it into the wall. I have to get the pedal board out. I have to connect up my snake, it's this whole thing.
And then, my wife is amazing, but it was getting to the point where we're both so annoyed, because you're literally like, I have to make 30 Strat pickups which means on the little counters and everything.
Yeah, there's 30 like
just stuff everywhere, and you're like, well, then I'm going to get up in the morning and wax pot them, and you can't cook breakfast until that's all. It just.
I can't even imagine what getting parts is like on the road, because I know that some of the wirehouses. I know from talking to Nick, like getting form var and stuff like that. From in the right quantities in the right places is difficult, because there's only like 2 places you can get some of that stuff.
Yeah, I had a pretty good relationship. We buy a lot of stuff, so I had a pretty good relationship with my people, and it got to the point where basically we used UPS stores.
Yeah.
So basically what I would do is I'd make an order, I would call them, and I'd be like, the order I just placed, this is where I needed to go. But the trick was that you had to like order it on a certain day, because we stayed everywhere a week. So you'd have to order it like on Thursday, and I'd have to pay 2-day air for it. Because that would do. So then that means it would come in the following Tuesday in the next town.
Yeah.
So if something happened, it would get totally screwed up. It only happened one time, actually. In 2 years, but I was spending hundreds of dollars a month on freight that I don't have to spend now because of that. And I didn't raise my prices or anything. I absorbed that cost, but because I didn't want to say that, my lifestyle was going to cost my customers something, because it was a choice I was making. Obviously, I didn't want to do that to them, but it's so much less stressful now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Especially at these volumes that we're doing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. I can't imagine trying to wind 30 pickups in a day. I
don't do it often.
I can't do 30 things in a day. Doing 30 pickups in a day would be two things. It would be boring to me, just because I'm easily bored, especially if I do repetitive tasks. I think that's what really drove me to enjoy computer programming was, okay, I have a repetitive task. I will program something to do that repetitive task so I can go do something else. Yeah. It's also what's gotten me out of a lot of bands, because I'm like, all right, set list has gotten boring. Not learning any new songs. I'm not learning anything new on guitar. I'm not learning any new lyrics. I'm not learning any new styles. I'm moving on. And either the band needed to...
That's either good or bad, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, and there is a bad to it. There is a bad to it. So you guys got off the road. Mm-hmm. And made the decision together, I'm sure, that it was time to go get an apartment. And just to let you know, if you ever need to park somewhere in Virginia Beach area, you can park here. I have a whole side of the house.
Just there. I will totally take you up on that.
Yeah, I know you were right. We were right across the way, and you went over to OBX, and I was like, "Oh man, he's over in."
Well, and we went to Virginia Beach.
But I knew it afterwards. Oh, you did? Oh, damn. Twice. Okay.
We'll take you up on that.
You've been there more times than I have.
Just let me know. Yeah. So it would be cool.
We need 21 feet. We're only 21 feet long.
Yeah. Well, I have enough room to put either one. But yeah. Now that you're back and you're doing that, Texas Toe. So you hinted earlier, or you kind of said it, but I kind of want you to talk more about. You have a new guitar coming. What you can say about that new guitar that you and Texas Toast are working on. What your part of that is, and what you'll be doing with Texas Toast here in the near future.
Oh yeah. So one of my customers actually, like 3 years ago. Mike, his name's Mike Ivy. He's always in the chats on their videos. He lives locally here in Augusta, Georgia. And he's like, have you ever heard of these guys? They're doing these classes. You should check them out, because you should do something like that. And that's literally that's why we have a Patreon. He gave me that idea. I went and kind of like ripped off their idea with what they're doing and kind of adapted it to me. Since then, we've been out there. We spent a couple weeks with them. We got to see their shop, and I was around for a couple of their building classes things, and we did a very short, just a couple hours, maybe a half a day kind of pick up how to choose the right pickups for your guitar kind of class sort of thing.
Yep.
But Matt and I have been talking for probably 2 years about wanting to do a full-on take some winding machines and some soldering irons, because they do those things where you can build a guitar in a week. Right. So we thought, wouldn't it be cool if you had a couple of days before that where you learned how to wind pickups, you wound your own pickups.
And then you installed them.
His guitar building class, you built your guitar, and then you put your own pickups that you made in your own guitar. That would be the ultimate cool week for someone who loves this stuff. It would be awesome. Yeah. So that's what we're doing in May. As a result of what we've done back and forth, and I sponsor their, I don't sponsor much stuff, but I sponsor their live stream. And as a result of that, a lot of their customers will order their guitars from them with my stuff. So yep. I send pickups to them, to put in customers' guitars. And as a result, some of their customers will be like, hey, I have this other guitar. I want to order some. So we've kind of worked together a lot on a lot of little projects.
Right.
This thing that happened this week was really a surprise. I did not know. I say this in the video comes out tomorrow at noon Eastern, which would be so it would come out February 7th. So by the time you all hear this, it'll be out. Last Tuesday, February 3rd or whatever, Matt and Chris called me and they're like, hey, we're doing this 2P90 like Les Paul special kind of thing, but it's their original design. And before anybody says, can you get Dylan pickups in it? Let's just put Dylan pickups in it. Let's just say that they totally blew me. They like totally not blindsided me because it was a positive thing, but like I had no idea that they were going to do this. And they're like, and we have the first one, but we don't have any of your pickups here. So let's just send the guitar to you. You can put your pickups in it. You might as well shoot a review about it while you're there. And then just here's a call tag for it. Just send it on to the customer when it's done. So that guitar is sitting over there. I just got done with the video last night. Mm-hmm. And I played it all day Friday and all day Saturday. And a lot this morning too. And it's a really, really good guitar. So they were going to limit it to 10, but those have already sold out. So, and the video's not out yet. We do this news thing every Wednesday.
Right.
And those things usually get, I don't have the biggest channel in the world. Those things usually get maybe, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 views a week.
Yep.
That particular one has 23,000 and it came out Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know why, but people are really into it. So, and they sold a bunch of them. So they're going to make more. So it's really cool. And my pickups are going to be in all of them. So
can we see it? Can we see it?
Yeah.
I didn't know if we were legally allowed or.
Oh, no.
This won't come out before your video, so.
Probably not. I did edit 2 today. So we got that going for us.
That's good. Oh yeah. That is not a Les Paul Jr. That is, no one could say.
Jim, that looks really, really familiar. That looks kind of like my Godin.
Yeah, that looks really cool. I like that.
It's Honduras mahogany, one piece.
That doesn't matter.
With a Honduras mahogany neck. No scarf joint.
Yep.
Hip shot tuners, 7-degree playhead angle. So you can lay it on a table and it doesn't.
That's cool.
Our P90s, of course, hip shot bridge. Probably the biggest difference would be its string through. It's not a stop bar tailpiece like a normal, a Les Paul style guitar. Volume tone. It's fantastic.
It's a cool looking piece.
That is a really cool looking guitar.
Down neck.
Yep.
So this is black poison wood, I think.
Wow.
Interesting.
And David, notice there's no markings on that fretboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there no tool marks on there?
No, I meant
no tool marks.
I know there's no
tool marks,
inlays.
dude.
There's no inlays. Jim and I have been going back and forth because Gibson, like the modern Gibsons have been coming and they got little marks in the fretboard from tooling.
Yeah.
And
Mine does.
they all have it. It's a production mark. But that's the thing. Like if you're buying a $3,000 Gibson, like there shouldn't be tooling marks in it.
well, and some people
some people don't care. Some people don't care.
Some people,
but
like
but
myself,
I always poke fun at Jim because it has tooling marks.
He does. It's okay. Look, there's the tattoo. All right. So
yeah,
I will admit it. I am a Gibson fan. But that said, have I not always taken the criticism as well? I mean, you took the good with the bad for sure. Because I give you a hard time. I've said 100 times, look, my 335 is fantastic. I love it. Love my 335. Yet, first thing I showed him was there's some buffing compound, like down in the
back pocket.
There's this one spot. If I opened the pickup cavities on my standard, you should see the rough cut.
Oh, it's like they chewed it.
Yeah, it looks like a dog chewed it.
Jim. But my PRS, remember how much buffing compound was still in the guitar when I took the backplate off?
Oh, yeah. My My Silver Sky's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like you could.
Well, not in the back plate, but underneath the scratch plate.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever.
SE or the
Oh, the core one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. See?
Yeah, I was like, it looked like they were doing lines of cocaine off mine. I mean, it was it was really bad. It was really bad.
But
mine only had one guy.
Not all the cheap guitars. Like, let's just say, guitars worth owning. Normal brands that we could think of, legacy brands. Mm-hmm. Is there any that you would not own? Like,
right.
So the whole fanboy thing is stupid to me because I want all of them.
Yeah.
I want all the things.
That's a good point.
It's not realistic.
There's a couple of brands I probably wouldn't buy from anymore, but it's mostly because of reputation.
Like what?
Well, like Kiesel. So I owned a Kiesel. And I have some political entanglements in my family that prevent me from wanting to cast my lot with somebody who has done some of the things that he's done.
Gotcha.
So, I mean,
personal value stuff, or
yeah, I mean, but that's different than like saying, oh, it's just, they make bad guitars.
Yeah, right. That's like you with Full Tone. I mean, same thing. There's certain things, and I don't necessarily mean you, but people with Full Tone might say, hey, I don't agree with what
I say buy used.
Did. And that's what I say, because guess what? You're getting no more money from that used one.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not putting more money in his pocket.
OCDs, so I don't really care.
Me either. I hate the OCD. I literally hate the OCD.
Really?
The only Full Tone thing I like is the Clyde Wah. Honestly,
the Deja Vibe. And
the Deja Vibe is good, but the Clyde Wah is the only thing that, for me, if
I
I'm
have better vibes than the Deja Vibe now, but I've got better vibes than the Deja Vibe. But that being said, that's one of the few pedals that they make that is still interesting. It's funny you bring it up. I had an OCD. I used one that was my main drive for like 4 or 5 years, and I stopped using pedals. I got my Mason Mark V around the time that I sold my OCD, and I just didn't need boosts or anything at that point because I could go direct me amp and I can get all my sounds that way. But I recently started getting back into drive pedals and stuff, and I got a King of Tone about 2 years ago, and I was like, why the hell are people after the OCD? Like,
oh, dude, that King of Tone is so good, man.
Yeah. I'm on the list again.
My overdrive pedal that I have that I really like is the Keeley D&M.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not a King of Tone, but to me it's the next best thing, and it's different. I wouldn't say it's better or worse. It's just a different flavor, but it does the same sort of thing, and I really like it.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter when it comes to me with overdrive is I found what I like. And that is, and unfortunately, it's not, believe it or not, it's not my normal gigging rig, which but my Marshall with the clean channel right at the edge of breakup, the gain right at the edge of breakup, and the Tumnus, and a Les Paul.
Yeah,
but that's me, and that's what I was looking for. The second I hit that thing, I can back up the volume just enough to get what I like out of it, and bring it up just enough to get the other side that I like out of it, and I can play with those combinations, and that's all I need.
I just
that Keeley compressor.
For me, it's that Gibson. I think my ultimate rig, really. All this crap I do every day. My ultimate rig would be that Gibson right there with one P90.
Yep.
A cable, and a Princeton with all the knobs all the way up.
Vintage Princeton or modern one?
I don't care.
Yeah. So I own the modern one. I owned the modern one, and I was not a fan. So I don't know.
As soon as
I don't like Princeton.
To be honest with you, I know for sure that the Princeton Tone Master is coming.
Yeah.
I will own it when it comes out. And once that comes out,
5 pounds.
That's going to be my amp. And then if I need an overdrive to push it, an EP booster or a Soul Food or some sort of Archer Klon thing, something that barely does anything, but just pushes a low watt amp with a 1 P90.
Yeah, EP booster for my money.
Now that's your P90, right, Dylan?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But so what we got more stuff to talk about, don't we, Jim? And I mean, I know we're here for a while, but if you got another,
well, I know. This is a personal question. So you're going to have a replacement set of pickups for the Silver Sky coming, the Silver Sky SE.
Yeah.
And I know that. Are you going to do the preloaded pickguard thing?
The prototype of the prototype first cut of those pick guards come in this week. And as long as it works the way it's supposed to, yeah. I've already spoken to my vendor, and I have those cut for me. And so we did the tracing. We got it all sorted. And yes. And you're going to be able to get a loaded pick guard. You're going to be able to get... And the pick guards are the same for both guitars. So if you wanted... a tortoise, I was going to put a tortoise pick guard on my pink guitar because I thought that'd be really pretty. Whatever. Yeah, we're going to do both. And I'm actually also working on a set of pickups for the Silver Sky Core, which is going to be different because the pickups are different.
Right.
Physically a different dimension.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. They actually don't have a strap pickup right here. So the strap pickup has got this, angle on the back. That won't fit in the route. They're actually flatter.
Oh, wild.
Yeah, so we actually have to cut different flat work for them. So I'm working on that also.
That kind of sucks, actually. I mean, not from your perspective, but like from PRS, like...
I think it's...
Because, well, it's fine for them because they figure if you're going to buy it, you're going to use those pickups, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
The thing is, though, is those pickups do the thing. They don't do anything else. So they're glorious at what they do. But they don't do... They do John Mayer. They do... you could probably say they do Mark Knopfler.
Yeah.
Anything clean. Like, I don't want to put overdrive on them. They don't really...
They're very clean and glass.
Need it.
They don't want it. They don't really like it that much. So what if we could give them a couple of different options? What if we could do a couple of different options for people that had Silver Skies, really like the guitar, but give them a couple of different flavors where they could kind of get all of the above instead of being stuck in that one kind of wheelhouse that guitar does really well. That's kind of the goal, but I don't know how well it's... I'm still... The first blush is in that guitar right there, and they're okay, but I'm going to make another set this week. So...
Yeah, I'd probably go because I got the yellow, and I'd probably go for like a if I was to pick a pickguard color, it would kind of go with that aged white because you notice that because they're going to put this pickguard is the same. My pickguard is exactly the same as yours, and it's very white. And if you're going to give me an aged white
yellow
guitar, I should have a yellowed pickguard with yellowed stuff. That's what I would, that's what I would order. I do like the fact that because that's my Ultra Strat right there. I do like the fact that that's kind of, you can't tell in this probably, but it's
parchment. Yeah, it's parchment mint. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And it's just so much of a hint that it gives it age without being like, look at how green this is in person. That's not what it does. Yeah. It just gives you that little bit of, okay, this looks aged. And that's
a mint on this one would look awesome.
That would look killer.
Right? And even on the blue one, a mint would look good on the blue, that gray.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever. So anyway, I want to do a couple of different combinations. We'll see if it works this week. As long as the tracing went well and what they do is they make up a tooling for me so that I can just be like, okay, I want this, this, and this, and this. We're not probably going to sell blank pick guards, although if it turns into a thing, maybe we will. We kind of, Leslie and I have a core, I make pickups. Right. We used to do a bunch of other things. We had a great cable line that was fantastic. We had a and a bunch of other accessories. And you could buy all your pots and caps and all that kind of stuff from me before. And it just got to be, I make pickups. So outside of loaded pick guards and loaded telly setups, I'm not doing anything else.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, so you'd source the pots, you'd source the plastic. I mean, you'd source the cut. I mean, I think somebody asked you during this week's thing, do you cut your own pick guards? You source those. You
Correct.
Give them a template and you source them. And I think that, that mint one you talked about, that one would look good in here. Because that goes to where, as long as it's not so minty, it's like,
Right.
I don't want what's that mint you get after after a dinner? Andy's candy mint. But I do enjoy a little bit of aged look, just like everybody else. I love an aged look and I love an aged feel. So I can't, obviously I'm not speaking for anybody but myself, but I think it would look good. That's one person's opinion. So, and I think it would work good also in that dragon fruit, because that's the other color that they've got. So, it wouldn't be, ew, that doesn't look good in that dragon fruit.
Right.
An aged white looks good in any guitar that's going to have an aged white or a white pick guard. And that would always look good.
And I'm just going to say it. If you only have that guitar,
yep,
you probably will you may never feel the need for pickups if you just bought that guitar. If you hear it side by side with the core one,
yep,
you're going to want new pickups.
Right.
And all the videos that came out were like, they're exactly the same. Even mine was kind of like that. They're like, yeah, it's pretty close. But we took it out and played it at a gig, both guitars and a 63 Strat at the same gig.
Right. You showed me some pictures.
And the green guitar, that one didn't hang. In real context. For 85% of people, though, they aren't going to compare it like that. It'll be fine. But for the few that either have one already and wanted an SE, or they have like a really proper Strat and they want an SE, they're gonna want new pickups.
Just putting this out there, I know I saw the videos and saw the comparisons, right? And like I've seen comparisons of other guitars. I remember when the original came out, the core model, and they were comparing it to Sirs and stuff. And I see these videos and I see people playing these, and I was like, oh, they sounded identical, in the identical player's hands and all this kind of thing. And I always just thought to myself, like, does anybody realize that when you put a microphone in front of a speaker, you're losing so much nuance? Because it's that, so Paul says this, and I want to bring this up because I think it's worth discussing. Paul Reed Smith says that guitar is subtractive, right? And yeah. I think he understands it like from the perspective of the equipment builder, but as somebody who does a lot of studio work, I mean, when I'm recording stuff, I realize that the sound that comes out of my speakers into my microphone, based on my microphone placement, has a huge impact on what frequencies are coming through. And there are things that I can detect in the room that are not going to show up on the recording. Like, and I can, and you kind of get a feel for it after you've done it enough. You're like, that super high end presence thing that this does with that amp, it's not going to show up on the recording anyway because the microphone peters out past 10K. So, there's that kind of stuff going on where even when I heard the recording comparisons between the SE and they were like, oh, these are basically the same. And I didn't actually hear any that I thought were basically the same first off. Now, of course, I listen in a different environment than most people. I've got, JBL studio monitors in front of me. My room is all treated in front of me so that I have no reflections coming from the wall. And I heard distinct differences. But I think for a lot of people, this is what got me. Was like a lot of people would hear those, and if they did hear differences, they might actually prefer the SE in the recording. But it's like when you get it into a live situation, it's not going to have the I don't want to use the word ball, but like the width. Balls. Yeah. That too. I mean, the low mids are going to be different too. But I'm just saying, like, even the 3D width that you get, you know, from like a good set of Strat pickups in an in-between position, for example, they're just wider sounding. For lack of a better word.
Well, Dylan, like you, the first thing I did, so I haven't even shot a video yet. So I took that thing, I took the back off, and I did a little adjustment, but I didn't change the strings yet. Took it to a gig, and I say gig, an open mic, and I did 4 songs, and people loved the sound. But there was what you're talking about. So I was next to a Les Paul with a Marshall. I was next to a really, really nice Fender, but it was through a Katana. And I was through my Blues Junior. I had an edge over the Katana. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna put down the Katana. I have one. It's sitting right here. But I'm just saying that in a live situation, I had a little bit of an edge. I can say that that's why I reached out to you, and I don't know if you remember. And I said, are you planning to build a set of pickups for this? Because the truth of the matter is that as much as I like it, this is what I like about the guitar. So I played them both. Now, of course, I played the initial. I understand they changed some of the neck profile on the thing, so I have to get my hands on the core, because it did not feel good. It felt like I literally used to live down the street where they make Louisville Sluggers, and I was like, this thing is a Louisville Slugger. I mean, it was terrible. I was like, and I love fat necks. Look at what I play.
Well, and the new one is bigger than the old one. I'm going to tell you that. My buddy has a 2019. Mm-hmm. I played it back to back with mine, and my neck is bigger because mine's brand new. And
right.
It's big. I love it though.
Yeah. And a lot of people love that. I love the feel of this guitar. That's why I said, are you putting together pickups? Because the guitar is right. The bones of this guitar is right. Yeah. It feels good. It plays well. Is it perfect? No. You take the back plate off of this one. It is not pretty like the core model. It's actually routed very
That's
ugly.
That's why they put the back plate on it.
Yeah, you get inside of it too, so there are some things where I'm like, and the scarf joint's a little bit, but and I can feel a scarf joint. I don't care what anybody says. I can feel a scarf joint. But that said, and I don't feel it in a bad way. I just know it's there. I'm very aware of it. But because of all that, though, I like the way this guitar feels and plays, and so I'm all about taking the strings off that I don't like, putting the strings on it I like, and then putting a set of pickups in it that will give me a wider range of tonal options that I can enjoy.
What do those end up retailing at? They're like what, $850 or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's not bad for the inflated economy we're dealing with right now.
Right.
That's like right the price you should be for a guitar that you're going to customize, and that's why I've been saying all along is this guitar was made to be customized. Like in my mind, this is the guitar you buy to that you're going to mod because nobody wants to buy a $3,000 guitar and mod it.
I got that guitar. Sweetwater gave me that.
Right.
And then as soon as it hit the door, I told Leslie, as soon as it hit the door, I was like, you know what? It's $849. So here's what I did. I bought this.
Mm-hmm.
I bought this. I did not get this for free. It's a Strat.
Mm-hmm. You could say that much. It's got all the characteristics.
It's a Strat. It's terrible for the same money. If you were to just say dollars and cents, this guitar is terrible. Now, is it terrible? Is it a terrible guitar? No. But next to that one, the fretwork suck. I mean, it's like bad in comparison. Now, is it playable? I wouldn't. I would fix it right away. 99% of people are going to play it forever this way, but I would fix it right away. It's not good. And it just feels cheap. The tuners are cheap. The trim is garbage compared to the PRS one.
Oh, that's because they've intentionally neutered their trim systems for years.
Yeah.
The only thing that's got going for it is the back plate is a 3-ply.
Yeah.
You know, but, and of course it sounds more Stratty. It's a Strat. It sounds
like you'd expect it to.
Yes. It sounds like a Mexican Strat. Not as good as an American, because it doesn't.
It's not as muscular for sure.
It doesn't sound as good as, you know, a custom shop Strat. I'm real careful about American too, because they put noiseless pickups in everything and they just completely friggin' ruin the entire line. So I hate noiseless pickups. So American Strat these days, 90% of them come with noiseless pickups, except for a couple of models. So this is a dumbed down version of like an American original, only not, because it has 2-post trim. So that's the problem with Fender. There's like, we did a series on them.
There's too many SKUs, and none of them are right.
There was 22 tellies.
Yeah.
18 Strats.
And there's probably more now.
And I was like, and there wasn't any real ones. The American originals are $2,000, and they're pretty close.
Yep.
Being right. But at that point, you might as well just go get a team-built custom shop for $2,500 and get what you want.
Or even just build your own.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a parts caster. I mean, at the end of the day, these are cookie cutter guitars. They're building blocks, right? So if you want, you build the one that's identical to the spec you want. And I know people who, I actually know somebody who had his hand on a 57 he really, really liked, and he said, I want one just like it. And he went through hell to get one that was just like it. And he ultimately got a guitar that's very similar, but it was like, you know, it's one of those situations where you'd have to do the research to know what you're doing to clone one. But I mean, they're not going to do it for you. I mean, they in my lifetime of playing guitar, so I started playing guitar in like 2001-ish. I'm baby of this group, obviously. They have never produced a Stratocaster that I felt like was what my heroes were playing. Do you know what I mean? Where like 6-post bridge, correct angle on the bridge, because that's the other thing, is that bevel that's on the front of the bridge has changed over the years. And they know that. And the only place you can get one that's correct is either you go to Callahan or you go to the Fender Custom Shop. And like that's their shtick, right? They've learned that there are certain things that they know discerning players are going to look for, and they've priced them at a point where you can't get them out of the production models. And then they have all these SKUs that, like, okay, so I get the artist models, and we've talked about this on the show, but I'm not a big fan of the signature guitars. I don't think I need somebody's signature on my guitar. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. But they also have this whole other like system of ranges that they've created that really don't make a whole lot of sense. Like even the vintage correct ones, the vintage, like I forget what they're calling them now, but you know, they've always done a vintage reissue series. They're always like shades of not actually the vintage guitar. And it just drives me crazy.
To be fair, what they're doing is they're trying to go as vintage spec as possible. Like, so the Vintera thing, for example, with some of them having a 9.5-inch radius on the fretboard. Like, I get what they're doing. It's the same thing with this green one. They're trying to go as close to John Mayer spec and vintage Strat spec as possible. But they know that at this price point, an 8.5-inch radius on the fretboard and a little bit smaller neck is going to appeal to more people in the end.
Right.
So it's more about how many guitars they're going to sell to whom.
Correct.
Right.
Is what kind of, and the same thing with the 2-post trim instead of the 6 screws. It's just easier to deal with for somebody who's in that area. If they're spending $850 for.
Yeah, I also think we might be getting a Fiore too, and I think there might be some parts congruency there.
Yes.
At some point in the future, we may be seeing a Fiore SE.
Oh, you will. I ordered it. Yeah. I ordered the blue one. It won't be here till October.
No, the SE, in the cheaper line.
I'm sure we'll see an SE of the Fiore.
Because I've heard those guitars are selling very, very well. So
yeah, I can't get one till October.
Yeah. I mean, but they're ordered out 2 years in advance anyway. So like I'm really close to my PRS dealer, and they tell me, you know, like, you can't even get an order for, whatever. Like, unless a new product drops, and then there's some, they have an allotment that they sell to dealers, then you can get it on an app. But basically, if you like the what's the hollow body they sell a ton of.
The SE hollow body too?
No. It used to be green, but now it's blue.
Oh.
I forget. It's some signature model.
Yeah,
it's just escaping me right now.
Like a Tremonti or a
It's an SE, but it's like I've heard it's their best selling guitar, right? And the single cut, hollow, semi hollow thing, and anyway, they they're ordered out like 2 years in advance. You can't even, a dealer can't even place an order for more of them. So if they don't have any on order, you're screwed.
That's funny. Dylan and I were talking when the SEs came to Sweetwater, and I told him, I said, yeah, my rep got me one, and he's like, I gotta get a hold of it. So and he was lucky enough to get one, because believe me, I think if he'd have waited 10 more minutes, he wouldn't have got one.
I'll tell you what happened. So I actually called my rep, and I was like, dude, put me down for one. I was like, but I need to talk to the social media department and see if I can get a video going.
Right.
A brand integration going. He's like, well, I'm going to hold one for you, and you talk to that department and see what happens. So then, of course, that worked out.
Right.
So then when they went to go grab that guitar, because I was supposed to get a blue one, they were already gone. And I was like, just send me whatever you have. And so I got a green one. Yeah. Because it was already, like, by 11 o'clock that morning, they were all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mom and pops didn't get any yet, basically. I mean, for depending on, what level dealer they are. Like, most of them didn't
just got some last week, but they're all pre-sold.
They're just starting to come in. Yeah, because I know that there's some coming to some stores I know. But
but let's face it, when they're in, they're out, because a lot of even the mom and pops have got pre-sales, pre-orders.
Yeah.
And so the cool thing about you getting the green one is it doesn't really matter, because you've got it in, you got the video done. That was
now it's got the core,
and you've got the core, which was nice because you got that core right before. But also you'll get to do this, you'll get to do the other part, and then you'll sell it.
I've got 3 or 4 people lined up already.
I know people have been asking you, right, to sell that guitar to them. And you're like, no, wait, I got to finish what I'm doing before I can sell this to you, because you're not getting it until I'm done.
Happily, just give me 10 more minutes.
I'll tell you one of the people that really wants it from me. My buddy who has the 63, the 64, and the 66 Strat.
Figures.
Yeah. And I saw that 60, I think it was the 63 that you were playing the other day. Really nice. Like I said, I just did a write-up of a local guy's guitar that a lot of people, because it's kind of a local, the guitar itself and the player are kind of local, what we call a celebrity, in that people know that guitar and they know that guy. And what's funny is, if you saw him in person, he's got to be 5'2". Okay. And that guitar, it looks like it's hanging low. That's because they don't make straps that short. It's kind of like Angus Young, And but I love Ed. He's a great guy. And so I said to him, because I want to start doing this, I said, Ed, I'd love to write up on the guitar. Let me ask you some questions about it. And I actually kind of want to get him where I do a little interview like this because of that. But the thing is, that guitar is worn, battle worn, and it all came from, I had posted a thing, and this is the thing that I don't think people get. So all I had done was said that Trogley had seen he got in the new Mike Ness, right? And I get it. That's a custom shop. It's great. People love it. Hey, that's cool. It's your thing. $9,000 guitar. So he gets it in. Yeah, $89.99. He gets it in. I'm sure he got a deal on it because he resells these things. So whether somebody did a new Guitar Day program through him or whatever, he calls it whatever. So he gets it in. He goes, I don't understand what this dark color is. I've never seen this on a guitar around the wear mic. And I'm like, and I said, all that does is show Trogley's age. I said, because look, the guy graduated high school somewhere around 2010. Okay. So he's barely 30 years old.
He's younger than I am.
Yeah. And so I get it. I wish I had come up in the years of no smoking in bars. Jesus. You know?
Well, but, and that's not necessarily true either, because, like, I can remember being in bars with cigarette smoke. Oh, yeah. Not even that long ago. But that said,
right, but you can't
not as much
10 years of it.
Somebody like you know.
Right. And the only thing I was saying was a guy like Mike Ness, who's 60, by the way. Mike Ness is 60 years old. He's only a couple of years older than I am. So
he's probably in Smoky Studios. I mean,
yeah, that's just it. Everybody smoked everywhere. And my point was not that it's just a smoky bar. There was a time when people smoked in the fucking hospital. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's hard for someone who never saw this to see that it used to be uncool not to smoke. Now it's uncool to smoke.
Yeah, I mean, just a little anecdote to share. I mean, we all talk about Neve consoles and what those things cost and stuff nowadays because of the vintage aesthetic and what they cost back then. And it's like, people were using them as ashtrays. I mean, they were literally like putting their cigarettes out on the console.
And not all that tobacco came from North Carolina, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
So they were probably doing lines off those things. I mean, and a guy like Mike Ness, he wasn't babying his guitar. It's 1976.
It was a tool.
When he got
it was a tool.
Right. Exactly. And so I think that's why I took a picture of Ed's, because I wanted to show a guitar that was about the same age. It's actually younger. And it got a similar wear because of a guy who played it 4 to 5, just like you. He gets up in the morning, David, and he plays
like an hour before work. And
yeah, but he doesn't have work. He plays for hours.
I play during work.
Then he has
Don't tell
lunch.
anybody.
Then he plays for hours. Then he goes to gigs, and he goes to open mics, and he goes to the studio. So this is a guy that's been doing what Mike Ness did for years in rock and roll. And so my point was, not everybody takes their guitars the same way. And Trogley's used to seeing, for the most part, I'm not saying he's never seen an old guitar. And that was the thing that really ticked me off when somebody said, hey, they ain't seen an old guitar. I know. But they're mostly museum pieces, and that's what he's trying to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's respectable. He's trying to build a museum of guitars. So he doesn't care about bringing in a player's grade that someone literally used as an ashtray and put their cigarettes out on. I mean, can you imagine Mike Ness, if he was smoking a cigarette while he was playing, the ashes falling on it, and then him like, where am I going to put it? Well, I'll put it right here. And he puts it out. And he doesn't care.
I got no other choice,
And that was my point. Is that it didn't happen, like, it wasn't a year, it wasn't 2 years, it wasn't 6 months. It was decades of that mistreatment and abuse. And that's the thing that, like, when I hear about Joe Bonamassa, he walks into a guitar store, because I talk to the guys at Guitar Center when he comes in. And they're like, he's not looking for a pristine guitar. He's not looking for the pretty guitar. No. He wants that one that has been through the ringer, and it's really cool, and it's got a story, and it's got more stories than you do. You know what I mean? And that
harkens back to the same thing we were talking about earlier, though. Like, when somebody talks about an instrument and they go, it's from the 70s, I think people have a tendency to, like, kind of dismiss that as, like, okay, it's, the 70s, but that's 50 years ago, or right. 70 years ago if you're talking about a 59.
It's scary.
It's outlived its original owner, most likely. I mean,
I was 6 years old in 1970. I mean, it's scary for me to look back and go, that was 52 years ago.
I just gotten a huge thing on my stuff the other night because I pretty much, I don't hold much back, and I don't really care about the Beatles.
Right, right.
We've had that conversation on the show before,
I love the Beatles. I love Kiss, but there are people that don't.
And everybody was like, I mean, here's where I'm at on classic rock. I love certain pieces and certain guitar parts. And I also will watch every documentary so that I can learn as much about the history of music and I really respect everybody's place in music. But for a lot of this music, not going too far back, but pretty far back now, I was there. Like, it's not, I don't care to, like...
It's not legendary to you because you lived through it.
No, exactly. And so, and somebody was like, yeah, but you wouldn't even be doing what you're doing now if it wasn't for the Beatles, because guitar wouldn't be what it is. And I'm like, that is a bunch of...
No, there were plenty of people before the Beatles that were making guitar popular.
Well, and here's the thing.
And in the same time.
The Beatles broke up 58 years ago.
Yep.
People forget that time has passed and that the cultural significance and the cultural gap has grown and grown and grown. So a fully grown person, like a fully grown person in their 30s.
In their 30s, yeah.
Could never have heard a Beatles song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And had complete influences from whomever they got it from. And yeah, but they don't even know it, but they were... No. Once that gap is there, it doesn't matter. Like, and people are like, yeah, well, you were influenced by bands that were influenced by the Beatles. And I'm like,
so
yeah,
what?
But I didn't like the Beatle-y stuff about them because I don't like the Beatles. I liked the other stuff about them that wasn't Beatle-y. That's why I liked them.
So,
you know, like...
I mean, I get it completely, but that just kills me because it's like, well, you like this band that liked Django Reinhardt, that, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, Django Reinhardt was 80 years ago, 85 years ago. He died 80 years ago, you know, which is why I'm just like kind of like scratching my head on this, because I'm like, I've never played that game that this person is influenced by this. And then, so therefore, you're also influenced by this.
And
it's
somebody
like,
said to me, they're like, well, what about Leo Fender? If it wasn't for Leo Fender, don't you make Fender designed stuff? And I'm like, because we were talking about this whole cultural gap, and like, I don't want to live in the past. I want to know what's on the radio right now. Like, I'm not stuck in whatever year. Like, I want to know what's happening right now. And then like, well, don't you make Fender inspired products? Like, aren't you, you know, isn't everything you do just as a responsibility of Fender? And I'm
you
like,
can have a respect for somebody without, you know.
And I'm like, yeah, I do make Fender design products. And here's why. Because nobody else will let go of the past and let me design something else. I can't make, if I
Fishman's are a classic example.
If I went completely on my own and did something crazy out in left field that was not inspired by Fender, no one would buy it because they're all stuck in 1975.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And
that's right.
So I have to stay in a certain slot in order to make a living, because let me tell you, I would not if I didn't have to. I have lots of ideas.
David and I have...
I want to see some of those ideas, man. I want to see them come to market. Yeah. That's my thing.
David and I have talked about that 100 times. Like, look, I'm 58 years old, so I'm a bad example of what the future wants, and I get it. Okay, I get it. I really do. I want the Les Paul. But what I don't appreciate is how when Gibson would try to do something new, people would just, that's not a Les Paul. Like this Gold Top has push-pull knobs.
They can't accept that something might be better, you know, changed. It has to be exactly like the original or no dice.
So here's what you do. You buy an old one and you have it around. Guitars are the only thing that this happens with. So what people don't realize is if I like guitars this much, it pales in comparison to how much I like anything with an engine in it.
That's right. I've seen cars and motorcycles.
Way more of a gearhead than I am a guitar. I like guitars a lot, and it rules my life right now. But I like motorcycles and cars. If I could make my living doing that stuff instead of this, which I actually used to until I got hurt, I wouldn't even do guitar stuff. I mean, that's how much I love cars and motorcycles. And here's
I've seen your Triumph stuff and your other stuff. That's a discussion for another day.
In the power sports and automotive industry, if you want something vintage, you just go get, my favorite car is a 65 GTO. I have one. But I did not expect it to perform and have air conditioning and stop and go and turn and handle and have fuel
You
injection.
accept the faults.
Yes. So here it is. That's what I have. And that's what I use sometimes. And then I use fuel injection and air conditioning the rest of the time because that's real life.
And you don't go, wow, that fuel injection air conditioning, that sucks. That they never should have put that in cars. That blows.
Right. So why can't we do that? Why can't we do that with guitars? Why can't we say, I have, and this is what I'm trying to do. It's actually what I'm trying to physically do with my collection. Because I think a lot of people think I hate vintage instruments. I'm like, no, let's have that right there. That barely intonates actually because of the vintage design that it is.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same token, let's have a carbon fiber acoustic guitar and a PRS Silver Sky or a Fiore. It's okay to like everything and like recognize that that is amazing.
That is right.
And use it what it's for and go be punk rock. And if it's a little out of tune, it's totally fine. And then grab something else because they're all just a bunch of tools. They're just freaking guitars, man.
Well, Jesus, I wish more people had that.
Oh, I got a stern talking to about that the other day about, they're just tools, but that's a whole other conversation. We can go into that.
We have one more topic. We have one more topic that we have to get to before we go.
Yeah.
But I have to step away for just a second.
Hurry.
Because I'm 58 years old, but I'll be right back.
Hurry.
You know what? I'm going to do exactly the same thing.
All right. I'll be here.
I'm not 58, but I will do exactly the same thing.
All right. I'm just catching up on some other things that have been going on while we were recording here. Yeah, so, we were talking about the modern stuff, and like, I think the classic conversation there is the difference between like EC1000s and like regular Les Pauls.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jim's owned a couple of EC1000s, and he's a vintage spec Les Paul guy, and it's kind of like the EC1000 sort of fixes everything. Like all the things that people complain about, or the people that aren't Les Paul people complain about anyway.
It's the Silver Sky of Les Pauls.
Right. And it's like, I always just thought it was a funny paradigm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The more you get to know me, the more I don't care. And I don't get connected to stuff. I'm, like, for example, my favorite guitar in the whole world is my McPherson Sable, my carbon fiber acoustic, but it's for sale. And people are flipping out. And what's really funny about, I did it on purpose because People are like, oh, he bought his old Breedlove back and now he doesn't want his carbon fiber guitar anymore. Oh, I bet he's going back to a wooden guitar. It's
no, you're going to sell that. You're going to go get a Rain Song or something.
No. I'm literally getting a different color of the same guitar.
Oh, that's even better.
I'm not even going to tell anybody what's in there.
All right.
You guys can know, but nobody else can know.
Final topic.
Final topic. We have to talk about it. It is the topic that has been plaguing the guitar world since what was that guy?
It's the one I swore we'd never talk about again.
That's right. Remember that guy that had a YouTube channel that got taken down because so many people hated on him? And I was like, look, he's got a...
Yeah, I remember.
Anyway, Scott something. He was
Scott
a tall
McKeon
guy.
or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
McKeon's somebody
Anyway,
else. That's another player.
He did a thing where he said, tone woods don't matter.
Oh, Scott
Here
Grove.
we go.
Scott Grove. There you go. Yep.
That's it.
You got
right.
it.
You're right. It was Scott Grove.
I love Scott Grove because he's a jerk and nobody likes him. And I think
That's right. That's what I love about him.
dude, he's an awesome dude.
He is my kind of guy.
I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he is.
Are you?
Yes, and he is a really cool dude.
He's the kind of guy I would go out and have one of these with.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So the video that's been circulating is the guitar, like I'll call it a slide guitar, the guitar with no body. This guy does and I forget what his name is, but he's a natural session player. And
Jim Lill.
Is it Jim Lill?
What is it?
Jim Lill, Lill.
That's it.
Okay. So basically the rundown for the video is he talked to manufacturers and got like these boutique builders and asked them, what makes a guitar sound the way it does. And then he put together a chart and then he said, I don't think he said I'm going to bust him. I'm going to test every one of these things. And then he actually went through the process of like, okay, I'm going to take a guitar that's a kit build and compare it to my expensive, and it's a Tom Anderson, I think, Telecaster. And then I'm going to take, various steps to try and replicate it and see how close we get. And actually what he found out, and what, at least to my ears, what the video seems to show is that pickup height is like the single most determining factor in electric guitar, period, in terms of tonality. I think a couple of things just before we get into that, because you did a reaction video and you had some opinions on it, but just a couple of things I wanted to share and my thought process, because again I'm listening through studio monitors and the whole thing. First time I watched it on phone, and I was kind of like,
"Yep, same here."
Really? And then I went home and I literally went home. I was picking my daughter up from school. I drove home. I got on my computer. I watched it again with my monitors, and then with a pair of headphones. And the whole video front to back, right? And yes, okay. So here's what I'm going to report to you. The differences are like minuscule in places, and definitely there are some technique differences that are causing some things that you're going to hear. I would say like you're not going to be able to tell differences in those recordings for the most part, or at least not discernible differences that you would like, even if you were in a studio environment and you were under a microscope and you were doing a track, and you had to like double guitars and stuff. It's not that kind of difference. In fact, if I had to attach a percentage value like I often do on the show, I'd say maybe 0.5% difference between, clip to clip with, similar characteristics. And it's a really wild video. It's totally worth watching. I would highly recommend you watch it. We just covered this on our last episode, actually. And I was actually making the sort of devil's argument that it does matter, but how much we didn't really go into. And what I wanted to start off this conversation with talking about was like, I think we all sort of define the things that we care about in an instrument without actually thinking what they mean. At least the majority of players. Like you're technically minded. You build pickups. You have a very strong engineering focus. Like I've heard you talk about things like shielding and stuff, and you have great knowledge on that. And I know you have a highly analytical mind, so you probably are thinking about it in a different perspective than the vast majority of people who think with like their heart and passion. And this has always been the thing that they've told me, and so I'm going to hold on to this dogma. And so like here's my thought process on this. Eddie Van Halen right? And I use him as an example, both because I'm a fan of his music, but also because he's the guy that, sorted it out for a lot of people. You should just try everything and figure out what works for you. Was always chasing that last 0.5%, right? So he would do things like, I'm going to wire my pickup directly to my output jack or something crazy like that. And I know people who've done that.
And I think, didn't he have no tone control, right?
Yeah.
He only had volume.
I'll take this a little further, and you guys don't know this. So I'm going to tell, I'm 100% sure you don't know this. A little bird told me that when they were, this is a reliable bird. When they were doing the EVH Wolfgang stuff, like the first ones, when Fender owned everything still, right? Like when this was, Fender still owned everything, and because this was at Fender. They broke the pickup wire and repaired it in the prototype that they gave to him. They wound him another pickup. They gave him another prototype, and he's like, something's not right. So the custom shop versions of those guitars that were like the very first ones that were like $15,000, they literally wound them to a certain wind count, broke the wire, repaired it, and then wound the rest of the pickup because he said, this is better.
He's chasing that last 0.5%,
That's how anal that gets. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, so I could share some stories because I know some people who used to work at Peavey back when he was doing the thing with Peavey, and him and Hartley Peavey did not get along. It was really bad, to the point where he'd go there and they'd have yelling matches, and then he'd walk out on the factory floor to do quality, and he would walk over to the rack where they had a bunch of Wolfgangs sitting, and he'd grab one and just throw it across the room. And then he'd pick it up, and if it wasn't in tune, he'd say, scrap the whole line. Like, it was that kind of nonsense where it was just like, and now granted, much respect to him, but like he would get to the point where it was like, this is the only person this really matters to is him, even though it's a customer thing. And like the customer the customer's not going to know. Let's just be real. That he knows because he knows what he's looking for, and it's very specific, but the customer just wants to sound sort of like that. Right. And it's like, I hear these stories over the years and I go, he was cut from a different cloth. He really was. And for us, if you really want to be that person and pursue that last 0.5%, these things exist for you to do that. You can chase that dream of having the perfect piece of mahogany that both appeals to you visually and for some reason resonates a specific way against your body, and maybe increases the sustain of the guitar by 0.25%, even though you could just raise your pickups and probably approximate the same thing. And I just think it's a really wild, like, conversation where there's so many variables involved in that there are people that are running around. This is why Scott Grove got in trouble. It wasn't what he was saying. It wasn't what he was testing and trying to prove.
Right.
It was the fact that he made the extremist argument that this doesn't matter. Because it obviously does matter to some people. I mean, we have an entire industry predicated on it mattering, which means that somebody cares, because otherwise we'd all be playing Poplar pieces of shit, which my strat is Poplar with an olive sandwich. But
when I was in the power sports industry, designing dirt bike parts. So I used to design motorcycle parts for dirt bike racing, mostly in carburation and airflow, and we did some suspension stuff, computational fluid dynamics stuff.
Okay.
But what I call it, and what we used to call it, was the 90-10-5 rule, which was basically 90% of the money that's spent in any hobby is to get the last 10% of performance out of something that only 5% of people will ever
Yep.
Right.
will ever know.
Yep.
A friend of mine.
That's what it is.
Yeah. A friend of mine drives, he races Porsches. So, very much in line with what you were talking about. And so the difference between, like, if I bought a Porsche, right? I would never notice some of the shit that he goes through to make sure, because as they said, what is it, the Fast and the Furious or something? It's a game of quarter miles or something.
You live your life 1/4 mile at a time.
Yeah, that's it. You live your life. We live our life 1/4 of a time. With family, it's all family. But if you watch the real guys, and I don't care what race car driver you like or dislike for that matter,
They're worried about like the 0.025% increase in tire density at
because it does matter.
To them,
and
it
Dylan,
does.
You can talk to that because you know that if that tire isn't perfect, if that fuel mixture isn't perfect, if that engine isn't tuned,
They don't win.
perfect, you don't win.
Yeah.
And second place is just the top of the losers.
Because it doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile.
With the guitar stuff, why aren't you? I understand that your influence is Eddie Van Halen. Even you. I understand that my influence is Stevie Ray Vaughan.
He's another big one.
That's why. See, and I have. That's a whole nother podcast. I could talk about Stevie Ray Vaughan because I know things.
Yeah, everybody does. You all learn from somebody, and somebody actually knew it.
Well, I've played. Let's just say I've had access to some pretty cool guitars, and none of that stuff is what you think it is.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a set of pickups right over there that may or may not have been in, or somebody's guitar that's from Texas. We'll just say that. That's why I'm not going to tell you where I live, because
those are priceless.
That's exactly right.
And they're not what you think they are.
Right.
Everything people think they know about stuff. There's a couple of things about this very interesting.
Oh, they were overwhelmed.
They weren't.
No, they weren't.
Were 5.4K. And here's the other crazy thing. The strongest pickup in the whole thing was the neck pickup, and the bridge pickup was the lowest.
Right. Wasn't there some people alleging that he swapped them? Or that I figure it was just factory.
What happened was basically the bridge pickup went out and they just found some random one in some.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he wraps foil around them and then grounds them. So there's no highs at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like a normal person, the guitar sounds terrible. I played some really.
I'm gonna reach out to you because you got some ideas that I'm like that sounds like fun. That sounds like a weekend project.
So he used a dummy coil.
Yeah, I knew about that. That I did know about.
His guitar, which I actually right over there in a box. So, I'm just going to say, so I do have some actual firsthand knowledge of this stuff. And to tell you the truth, it's nothing what you think it is. And here's what's interesting about it is I can play the closest thing or the actual thing that he played and sound nothing like him. And to tell you the truth, the guitar kind of sounds like crap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when he plays it, it sounds like him.
Yeah.
The guitar, the numbers, when you look at the spec of Stevie Ray's guitar and you play it, you're like, why would anybody build a guitar like this?
Yeah.
It sounds like trash. Because the SRV signature model that everybody bought had Texas Specials in it. But what people don't know is that the Texas Special was a guitar pickup that Stevie Ray was going to at some point maybe endorse that Fender was developing.
Right.
Yeah.
But he never used them himself in any of his guitars. And then he died, and then they became associated, and then they put them in that guitar. But they never had anything to do with his actual tone. So everybody thinks that Stevie Ray played these hot pickups, but
no, no, they weren't overwound at all.
No. And so all those specs and all those crazy things, you cannot, I will tell you right now, and I have had the opportunity, you cannot make his guitar sound like him.
Right.
Nobody can. And you will sound terrible, actually. I've played some other artists' guitars. Gary Moore, Timmy Vaughn. Played some pretty freaking cool guitars. And you cannot make yourself sound like that artist. So I understand the inspiration. Like, I'm a Stevie Ray guy. I think that's amazing, and I would love to have a custom shop.
That's why I'm not chasing the EVH thing, man. Like,
right, you won't sound like him.
Right,
you might.
I sound like me.
Get one of those $2,000 Frankenstrats because it's cool, and
that's what that market is for. Like, to get that thing on your wall.
Like when you play it, and you know that, and it's realistic that you know that.
Right.
And I think what happens with all this Tonewood stuff is people make those associations, and then they just say, well, then it must be this way. Or they think that because a guitar costs a certain amount, or Poplar, for example, is half the cost right now of what Alder is right now. Now, wood is a commodity, so it changes. And so people are thinking, well, it's a cheap guitar, and the new PRS SE should be cheaper because blah, 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 because it's popular, because it's Poplar. No. Actually,
and we also know that those woods are not sourced from the same place anyway. There's like 10 different varieties of poplar, and exactly, it's like a whole other thing.
No, and what it really comes down to is, because I've done this, I've literally done this with people like my friend who has all these fancy, expensive guitars. I've put guitars in his hand and lied to him and told him, this is what this is. What do you think? Oh, it's amazing. And it's not.
Yeah.
Like, on purpose. And then told him, you know what I mean? Like, he's my friend.
Right.
But do those tests. So the Jim Lill video was really interesting because you're right. There are subtle differences to it. And I would say the only fault of that video was that you personally cannot feel the difference between what he was doing. So the 2x4 probably felt different than the Tom.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. You're going to hold it differently for even. Yeah,
you're holding it different. And that's a big one. I brought that up in my video.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, he had to hold the guitar different, which means that
the
his
pick angle is different. Yeah.
Interacted with the guitar different, which meant he played different. To me, fret size, string gauge, and neck dimension will change how you play more than anything else because of how you physically interact with the guitar.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Yeah. It's a tactile thing. And that is why rosewood and maple sound different. It's not because of wood. It's because how you hold the guitar. It feels different, so it's gonna feel different. So you're gonna play it different.
There are physical differences, and I think there are also mental differences. And I don't mean that we superimpose mental ideas on things. I think that we react to things differently. Like, have you ever heard somebody call a neck fast? Like, oh, it's a fast neck. Well, what I perceive as being fast is probably the exact opposite of what you perceive as being fast. And so, like, for me, and I know this because most people consider like a wizard neck fast, right? Like, I'm playing a baseball bat. I'm playing a baseball bat. My S500 has the biggest Strat neck I've ever had in my hands on it. And actually, I say that there's been others, but that's like sort of the perfect fit for me. And I play faster on that than if you gave me a wizard right now. Now, I might be more articulate on the wizard, but the reality is this. There is some level of psychosomatic thing that we bring to the table when we pick up a guitar and we vibe with it in a certain way, right? And you can adjust your techniques to do these things. I mean, ask any Gary Moore, like, ask any Les Paul bass person who can shred and like play really, really fast, right? Aldi Meola comes to mind. That they have a different approach to how they play, and their tone is on that instrument is that way because of it. You put a Strat in that guy's hands, it's going to sound different, and he's not going to have the same interpretation. And even if you were to take like 2 Les Pauls, maybe let's say you give him one with a maple neck, right? Versus a mahogany neck, and he's probably going to approach that instrument differently. It's just...
I'm going to give you something even more controversial. I would propose that if you are and I don't mean to belittle anybody by this, but let's just all be like real with ourselves and grown-ups. If you are a real guitar player, if you want to be a real guitar player, you should be able to pick up any guitar with any neck and be able to play something on it. Now, that doesn't that doesn't mean that you're gonna
be inspired.
Play it the same way. It doesn't mean you're going to play it the same way. It doesn't mean that you're going to be inspired to play a particular kind of riff.
Right.
Like I play my Gibson different than I play my Silver Sky.
For sure.
Because they're inherently feel different, and you're led to play it
but you can play the same songs on both. I mean, that's...
And yeah, but they inspire you differently, but that's what they're supposed to do because they're 2 different guitars, right? And I hear this all the time, like, I can't play this neck profile. I can't play blah, 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 blah. I can't play. I'm like...
It's a preference. I look at it as a preference. Exactly.
Suck it up and learn to play it. And chances are you're going to play something that you never played before, or you're going to approach the instrument in a different way, and it's going to make you better. Like... You know, I mean, like, that's the thing. And that's the stuff with all this Tonewood stuff drives me insane. Is like, if you're like, this is my thing. This is literally my thing. If I listen to a guitar and I'm like, that sounds like that and that sounds like that. Makes sense. But I have to controlled environment, like you're saying. In the studio, controlled environment, $200 headphones, $1,000 monitors, and I can kind of tell a difference. And what difference does it make? In the grand scheme of your entire life and your creativity, I mean, are you a guitar player or are you a nerd?
Well, that's what I'm pointing out. Is like your inspiration, like if we're getting all our inspiration from that last 0.5%, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that part I get. Right? Like that's part of the reason why we're the practical guitarist, right? Because it's not practical to chase that last 0.5% down the rabbit hole and spend 20 years chasing the tone rather than actually making music, which is something we've always been a big proponent of. Drop the presuppositions.
And I don't necessarily say that none of it matters, because it matters to people.
It does.
But it shouldn't matter as much as it does.
That's a good point. That's a great way to put it.
The percentage of weight that you put on making a guitar decision should not be weighted towards what it's made of.
Right.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's carbon fiber. I don't care if it's alder, poplar, basswood.
Outside structure, right? Like if somebody gives you one that's made out of not plywood, but like pallets.
Now we're talking. Tim Sway.
I know. I was referencing that.
We're talking. The latest example is this thing being in poplar versus the other one being in alder. Like, give me a friggin' break. Just play the guitar. Like, it's no big deal. Now, people will say, well, it's softer and it's harder. So I have a video coming out for that. Just so you know.
Well, with a urethane finish, I can't imagine it's much softer, to be honest. And I was the person in the back of the room going, it's poplar, which it's going to be softer. But
I have built a lot of guitars with poplar. It was my favorite way to build a telly for a long time. We did a lot of poplar tellies.
Back in the day, didn't they make them out? No, it's pine. I'm thinking of pine.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of pine.
Similar soft wood.
Way softer.
Way harder.
Yeah,
way harder.
Pine is softer than poplar for sure.
So here's what I'm going to do. Not to just give my video idea away or anything.
That's all right. It'll be out before we get this one
your
out.
video will probably be done by the time.
It's going to take me a while to get together. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to
I'll
take
bleep you out.
I'm going to take an alder wood, a poplar wood, and a basswood. And we're going to take a screw gun, and we're going to pre-drill all 3 holes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to put for a pickguard screw.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm literally going to count how many times you can go in and out before it strips out.
Cool. Yeah.
Of people who are like, yeah, but it's going to... How many times do you take your guitar apart?
I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is dents and dings. Like, just how fast is it going to absorb the abuse?
Oh, I get that.
You know, like, and you know what? If you're the relic guy, you don't care about that.
I'm beating the shit out of that thing. So I want to say this. I think that we spoke a little bit about how a lot of the people who come into guitar forums and guitar groups often are people who are relatively new to guitar. I mean, we talked about Trogley before. Trogley was playing Guitar Hero, which was a plastic controller 9 years ago, okay? And so the guy isn't exactly somebody I go to. Matter of fact, I was with a guitar friend of
You're
mine,
not taking lessons from him.
Yeah. And he goes, man, I love everything Trogley does until he picks up a guitar and plays it.
Oh.
So I'm just,
That's
I'm just
brutal. That's brutal.
Well, it's kind of,
Wow.
I'm not that guy. I'm not going to say that.
But I'm not going to say I'm just going to say that's probably as far as his videos go, that's probably the weakest part of his videos. We'll just say that.
Sure.
That is for me. And I tell everybody, I'm like, look, I'm way better at making you sound good than I am at making me sound good.
Exactly.
Because I have focused my entire life. That goes to my upbringing. My dad's a jazz guitarist, toured, record deals, the whole 9 yards. And that's how I grew up. We owned a music store when I was a kid. And literally my dad was like, look, man, you probably don't want to go down this road because you don't want to end up with dead with a needle in your arm, and you don't want to live in a van for your entire life. He's like, the touring thing and the actual playing guitar for a living thing, it's probably not the way you want to go. So I spent my time behind the desk. He produced a bunch of records. I got to listen. I just learned how to listen to music.
Yeah.
I just learned how to hear stuff. And that's what I'm good at.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So when it comes to someone who's relatively new guitar or brand new, I mean, you've got people my age that now are picking it up, and never would we have gone online and said, I'm 60 years old and I started playing 2 weeks ago. And how do I get Stevie Ray Vaughan's tone? And here's what they can't understand. Okay. You've been there, Dylan. You've been there, David. Rewind, okay, all the way back. Some of the first things you learned to do. And when you first learned to play guitar, you weren't worried about learning to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. You were learning to make a G chord, make a D chord, make an A C chord.
You just read my mind, the G chord, man.
Right? Yeah. And come on, how hard was it that first time you went and made a G and then had to go to a D, and it was just a song that went from G to D, G to D, right? And so they can't imagine what they're like. I've been playing for 3 weeks. What pedal do I buy to sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan? And it goes back to what you were just talking about, Dylan, which is you could buy his rig, and you won't sound like Stevie Ray fucking Vaughan. I mean, it's just. I don't want to yell at anybody.
You're not even going to know how to use it right.
Oh my God! Just play the freaking guitar. John Mellencamp had a song on which came out in 1982 or 83, and it's called "Play Guitar." And he says, "Forget all about that macho shit. Just learn how to play guitar." I mean, that's it.
What I tell people all the time, because they always ask me. Of course, I get friends calling and be like, "What should I buy? What should I buy?" And I just tell them, first of all, get lessons. Don't rely on YouTube. Yeah. Find a good guitar teacher and buy the best guitar that you can afford,
Right.
from a reputable brand that inspires you. And if that means that Carlos Santana is your hero and you go and buy $1,000 SE for your first guitar because that's what you can afford,
Right.
it's not too good for you. It's what inspires you to play. Whatever is going to inspire you to play. And then the people that call me and say, do you make anything, do you make any pickups that are going to, like, I need that slash sound. I'm like, then go buy the slash pickups.
Yeah.
Like, don't buy them from me. The reason our logo on our website says know your tone is because I want you to know yours. Like, when you're ready to come and make your own sound, come and talk to me.
I got it.
That's
Before we depart here, because I know we got to wrap up. I have a question for you, and it's just kind of a silly, like.
No, wait, before we get off the Tonewood thing, didn't you do a video where you had a fence post and you put a guitar up there? That was long before Jim Lill's video, right?
That was in my old house, so that was like 2018 or 17. We did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
People should go back and watch that. That's all I'm saying. Because you kind of did. I'm not saying the same thing, but you did a similar idea in that. We go to all this stuff. I play the guitars I play because I love the feel of the guitars. We talked about that. I think it was last episode that we recorded, right? Where I buy the same underwear. I buy the same T-shirts. I buy the same. I have all the same stuff of everything. And the reason I do that, I have four.
He doesn't want choice.
This hat.
He has four Les Pauls.
I have four Les Pauls.
All with the same pickups.
All with it, yeah, pretty much. They're all Burstbucker Pros. The point is that I do things. That's my life. But I know that when I stand up there, because I've had people, just like you were talking about, I had a guy, I sent you that little video of me, right? With the Stevie Ray Vaughan, the $40,000 Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know what I sounded like? Jim Woodard playing a $40,000 Stevie Ray Vaughan. And
it wasn't Stevie Ray, that's for damn sure.
It didn't sound shit like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I'll be the first one to admit it. But what I was getting at, and this is the point I'm making, is that it didn't matter. That guitar cost a third of I guess a fourth of my house's value at the time now it's a fifth, but that's beside the point. That thing cost more than any car I've ever bought. Twice as much as any car I've ever, and I can't even imagine that I would buy a guitar like that. And the first thing I said was, and it was funny because you made a comment on that. I said, wow, this was his number one. I hate this. It's like, I hate it. And I did. It's not because I don't think Stevie Ray Vaughan was wrong. Obviously, I don't think
it's purpose built for what he was doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Or heaven sent, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm getting at. Nobody's going to go play a fence post. But your point was made that the freaking fence post can still make noise. I think there's a part of it's going to get loud, or it'll get loud, or something like that.
Yeah, it takes the nail and the string and the pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very similar to what Jim Lill did, and he plays the string with the nail. I mean, when I grew up, we had a guy who played gut. He had we literally had the thing that you see all these white trash videos, right? Where like it's out in the middle of West Virginia, only this was upstate New York.
Somebody's playing the jug.
And somebody's blowing across a jug, and one of us is playing a single string bass that is a pail on the floor with a mop handle or whatever it was. It was too long ago for me to remember what that piece of wood was. And so it didn't matter. And that's why when people talk about Leo Fender, he wasn't out there like Paul Reed Smith going, tink, 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 oh, this piece of wood's good. He was like, yeah, how much can we get that for? Oh, $13 a foot or whatever? Yeah, get that. I mean, he didn't care.
Yeah, the thing I think people don't realize about Fender is that there might have been some tone considerations, but his main focus was how can we make 17 different models out of 4 different parts.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The magnets crossed over,
right?
The flat work crossed over, the wood crossed over, the necks crossed over, the fret wires crossed over. He was like, how can we do this where the guitar is infinitely repairable from every angle? Yep. And how can we do it and make a bunch of models and use the same, like the magnets that are in a P-bass pickup are the same ones,
right?
In a Tele neck bridge pickup, like they cross over. So like that's what it was. He was a businessman,
right?
He was the Henry Ford of guitars. He was not the Paul Reed Smith of guitars. He was the Henry Ford of guitars.
That's right.
It didn't have anything to do. So when people nerd out about Fender stuff, especially, I think it's really funny. Les Paul, he was a little more engineering minded, but he wanted to just make stuff work.
Yeah,
it wasn't necessarily
functional.
I'm looking for, it was, no, I want to make a thing work that's never happened before.
Right.
I've played his personal studio guitars and stuff, and they're cobbled together.
Yeah.
I played this.
Yeah, they are Frankenstein monsters.
Yeah, I played this one, and it's got the low impedance pickups in it with the weird studio, whatever you call that thing.
Yep, the recording or whatever. Yep.
And it has a mic preamp bolted onto it on the back, and then up here, like next to the button, it's got like a gooseneck for a microphone, so he could like play. And that stuff is ridiculous. Like he wanted to make stuff work. And I think people really overthink the goal of the people that created this stuff. It was not because they were in a forum trying to get some freaking tone. It's because they had an idea and they wanted to see
some overproduced tone off an album.
That's right.
Out of their cabinet.
Don't even get me started on that.
Oh my God! Yeah,
maybe we'll have to have you back on at some point so we can harp on some of this other stuff.
We definitely got to have you back. I say this that it's always this thing about how do I get Stevie Ray Vaughan's. It's especially guilty in like a Kemper form or something like that. How do I get Stevie Ray Vaughan's tone on "Couldn't Stand the Weather,"
which is the best song of all time?
Oh my God, that is.
Go back to 1987 when they were recording it in.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Stevie Ray stuff. This is how wrong I've been about all this stuff, and now I have a really, really good education from people that I really trust, who
were involved.
And yes. Anyway, yeah. Some of it I can't talk about. But that's what it is. It's like I've gotten an education on Stevie Ray and some other Fender players that is indispensable now. But when my number one favorite Strat tone of all time, and my original set of Classic 5 Strat pickups that we came out with, years ago, was modeled after the Stevie Ray Vaughan Tin Pan Alley sound on Couldn't Stand the Weather. Well, guess what? Those weren't Strat pickups.
I believe you.
They were lipstick.
I was going to say those are the lipsticks, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we think we hear a certain thing and we go on on this presupposition of whatever forever and ever. And then all of a sudden find out that it's not like that. And you're like, well, okay, I guess I'll have to figure something else out. Like that's probably, those pickups sounded great. And that's what I wanted. That's the sound I wanted, but they weren't Strat pickups to begin with.
Right.
The other big player in my background is Jimi Hendrix, probably bigger than Van Halen. And there are so much crap that's exactly the same way. Oh, he played, X amp in the studio, and it was a freaking twin, or like, oh, that was clearly a Stratocaster on that song. No, it's a Telecaster or a Les Paul Jr. Like, that stuff is so common from him. And like, I stopped trying to chase the sound and started trying to chase the philosophy. Like a long time ago, which was the idea that like, okay, so you really only need 4 pedals on the floor, and it's these 4 specific pedals, but whichever ones work for you. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a great point. I've done a lot of work with people in Nashville, and Nashville is interesting because what you hear on the record and what you hear on tour are two completely different things.
Yeah.
And the way studio musicians work in Nashville, it's a different person,
right,
on Tuesday.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
There might be an artist that plays all these guitar parts on all these records for this guy, but it might be like 6 different artists that this one guy has played all these guitar tones.
Yep.
The thing is he might have played 15 different guitars on 3 different records, a bunch of different amps.
Yep.
But his philosophy about how, Brent Mason, for example,
that's the name that came to mind right away.
He plays the guitar. He plays the same guitar most of the time, but not all of the time.
Yeah.
But his approach to what he brings to the studio. John Bollinger is a friend of mine too, and he's another example of a guy who has a philosophy and an approach. So this is what he shows up with. Now that might revise depending on who does what, when, and what is needed. But he has this is his method that he uses. Yep. And I think that's, for me, it's low wattage amp, pretty gnarly pickup, and a boost pedal.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to start. From there, you can build on it whatever you want, but that's my starting point. And if everybody could figure out what that is for them, whatever it is for you,
right.
Boiling it down to those components is a lifetime of working at it and thinking about it and kind of taking. So the technique I use is just, people talk about visualization. It's not visualization. It's called do something and then back up and think about how you could have done it better. And don't think about things like, man, I really wish I'd used this other clone pedal on this track. Think about, I wish I had done, I wish that the tone was warmer, or you think about it in something and then figure out how to achieve it some other way, but just realize what you want to achieve.
I think
what I tell people when they call and they ask questions about that stuff, and we talk about it in videos too, is one of the problems that people have is they're too laser focused, because we get emails all the time. Hey, I'm trying to do this with my guitar tone. Do I need to change my capacitors? You're zoomed way too far in.
Yeah. Back up.
Back all the way up. Or people say, what pickups would you recommend? What pickups would you recommend for X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, okay, before I answer that, I need to know what amp are you using? What does your signal chain look like? How do you have your amp set? Do you use it totally clean with dirty pedals? Do you use your volume knob on your guitar a lot? Do you leave it all on 10 all the time?
Yeah.
What are you? And then once I understand what you have, what problem are you trying to fix?
Right.
And sometimes we don't sell them anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like,
it's like a consulting.
Yeah. You turned your master up some and turned your preamp down a bit, and then did this and this and this, and maybe push the presence just a little because you're playing a Marshall. Try that. Fixed. And they didn't spend any money. But you have to zoom out and see the whole thing. And I think guitar players, we all do it. We zoom in on this one thing.
Hyper focus. Yeah.
Yeah. If I change my string gauge,
if I go from String Joy to Paradigm, I might be able to get, because they've got 0.04.
If I play it at the 7th fret instead of the 3rd fret, in an octave higher, you get the point.
It's too funny because, we talk about this all the time, but it goes back to what I was saying before. If I'm relatively new to guitar, and I go to say, I want to sound like X. It's kind of like that person that says, I'm driving down the street in an Alfa Romeo, so I look just like Daniel Craig. I mean, it's like, you don't.
Well, he wouldn't drive an Alfa first off. That would be an Aston.
An Aston Martin. That's right. You're right. I'm sorry. I had my pop culture references mixed. You're right. An Aston Martin, and he's driving down the road in an Aston Martin. Now I look like that's that guy. That's that guy. And I think part of it is that there's this thing. Look, I used to hang around with golfers, right? They'd be like, "Oh, I'm just using the wrong club," or "I'm using the..." No, you're using the wrong swing, and that's why you suck. Like me. I mean, it's like, I know I suck. It's not because I have a shitty set of clubs. It's because I suck.
Don't know.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I suck at golf. But it took me a while to realize that I just suck at golf. It wasn't the balls I was using. Oh, I need to get these balls.
Well, you had some pretty big brass balls, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? So imagine like, I know you were into Triumph motorcycles. I used to be into Indian motorcycles and BMWs now. And can you imagine if you were like, oh yeah, I can ride exactly like that. Nobody thinks that though. Here's the thing. Nobody says, well, if I buy these Nikes, I can run like so-and-so. They know that there's a physical part involved, but for some reason
in guitar, it's a whole other animal.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. I'm going to take us out, gentlemen. It's been great tonight. I've been David.
Yeah. I've been Jim.
And that was Dylan. I didn't know if we told you to do that. And we've been the Practical Guitarists.